fans, welcome back everyone, welcome back to the 2025 RSL Rival StarCraft League Playoffs co-stream bronze match. We just wrapped up with both semifinals. As you can see here, Hero and Classic have advanced on into the grand finals, and we're here to determine who will face, or we're here to determine who will claim that third place match. We have Reynor and Zoun. They both lost their series, but now they're going to be facing off in this best of 7. It is going to be an RSL rematch. We have seen Zoun pop off against Reynor in the past. If you remember, Zoun had a crazy series versus Reynor last season in RSL, where Zoun went Glaive Adepts and went for a different variation of Twilight Council into Glaives in their best of, and he did defeat Reynor. He was the one that knocked him down and out, and Reynor was knocked out early in RSL Season 3 because of Zoun, so now they have a rematch. Once again, we're expecting hyper aggression out of Zoun, and we'll see if he can catch Reynor with his pants down. Against Zoun, I do feel like if Reynor can slow the game down and get into the mid to late game, I do favor Reynor versus Zoun in that kind of position. Unlike against Classic, I do think that Reynor has better late game and better mid game than Zoun does, but Zoun has been a very tricky opponent. We've seen that before, and we should be seeing that again here as well. Meanwhile, a big shout out to Silly W in the chat. Thank you so much for subscribing for 11 months, almost a full year of support. Thank you so much for the support. We appreciate it. The finals, yes, the grand finals will be after this series. So first we have Zoun versus Reynor. This is the bronze match. Then we have a break, and then we have Hero versus Classic in the finals. Oh boy. There we go. Players are just getting ready, just setting up.
And also the mug. We have a nice mug if you like a cup of tea or coffee to keep you warm in these blistering temperatures.
Absolutely. So yeah, we can talk a little bit about what we can expect from the upcoming series. And that's where Zoun, I think, is a little bit similar to Classic in the playstyle, but he also is not the same in terms of like the number of builds he can bring out, right? Whereas when we see Classic, we know he's likes to going for these adept timings or these, like we saw in versus Reynor, like these charged Archon timings. I think Zoun is a little bit more set in his ways. He does have a few mix-ups he can bring in, like a few aces, but for the most part, I think he's going to
we'll see what Surgeon brings up.
More towards the more standard approach and just to like getting to a late game situation.
Yeah, indeed. You said he's more rigid. Can you talk about what kind of builds he likes to use specifically?
So he has a couple of like mass Void Ray openers where he goes like 2, 3, 4 Void Rays, and then he can go different follow-ups from there. Sometimes he just goes into standard, or sometimes does something more aggressive. He's sometimes like the Tempest openers that we've seen in the past, the fast Tempest into Blinkstalker, or just into more Skytoss units as well.
Yeah, and on the side of Reynor, we've seen him go for a bunch of different stuff. We've seen him go for these quick Ultralisk builds. This is kind of I mean, it's not necessarily a new build, but it's kind of the new flavor of the month for Zerg. You know, we've been playing Lurkers for a long time. We've been trying to go late game. We've been doing Hydroling Bane. There's been a lot of different stuff. And Ultralisks, with the new Shroud, have become much stronger. I remember you were telling me backstage about the cannon math with Shroud. What is it? How many hits does it take to kill a Zergling if it's in Shroud?
So it's 7 hits right now, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Which is a big upgrade from 2.
For one Zergling?
Yeah.
That is insane. And then for an Ultralisk, I mean, maybe 700, you're never going to kill that thing. Yeah. So if you get to that point in the game where you have the Ultralisks as well as the Microbial Shroud, all these units become much stronger. Yeah. And it's kind of different to the old late games we've seen where, you know, the Zergs were going for, we've seen Broodlords, you know, Lurkers.
We already saw that earlier this broadcast.
It changes the game a little bit, and the late game fights can look very different. But he also plays a ton of different styles as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we both have to see from both players, because in the previous series versus Classic, Reynor also kept it kind of just cool and standard, right? Didn't really bring out anything super weird that we know that he can do. He can do some proxy hatches, some more aggressive stuff. Right. Maybe that's something he'll want to bring out versus Zoun. We have to wait and see. But I think for the most part, Zoun is going to try to keep it very normal. Maybe throw in 1 or 2 curveballs since it is a best of 7. You never want to go like full predictable macro game every single game, right? Yeah. And probably the same from Reynor. But I think this series should be a very close one.
It's interesting that sort of initially said that Zoun was a little bit more rigid, and I was about to step up and be like, that's not really what we've seen from Zoun, but then sort of explained that, like, no, like Zoun, he's got some crazy builds where he goes Void Rays or he rushes Tempest, but like his builds are a little bit more limited in, he has a little bit less variety available to him, which I would agree with. I would agree with when it comes to Zoun. I would, again, like push against the idea that he's like a standard player necessarily, where he does mix things up, but like his way of mixing things up are a little bit more limited important in their aspect. I was hoping that Sturgeon would bring up Zoun versus Reynor when it comes to that previous RSL series where Zoun did go glaive at Eps and did go for a different variation of glaives, like 5 games in a row, where he was able to bring down Reynor. And again, I'm expecting to see a bit of that here as well. Maybe not the same reliance on that, on those Twilight Council openers, but I'm sure we'll be seeing a healthy amount of that mixed in.
It keeps getting through the vetoes so far, and it actually led to some interesting games. That was the game he went mutas against Classic.
Yeah.
And then he had another good game against Jumi where he did that Colossus push. So Evil Heart's always a very interesting one. We do see Maganatha and Magnetic North as the first vetoes here.
Yeah.
Go Reynor!
Go Reynor.
Zerg for life. I love to see it.
Nice. Yeah, so Evil Heart is kind of like a double-edged sword, right? Where if the Protoss goes for an aggressive timing, it will hit a bit faster. But likewise for the Zerg, it does open up some more mid-game aggressiveness options in terms of like Roach Ravage or Queen drops or something like that. Maybe even.
Let's see Classic and Hero getting ready.
To kill the third if they're going to like multiple oracles. These kind of builds becomes more viable when you have a very short map like this. So we'll have to see what happens in that map. Celestial being picked here by Zoun, I would have to imagine, as this is most likely I would say the favorite Protoss map in the map.
Yep, it's Reynor picking Evil Heart, Zoun picking Celestial, Reynor picking Mothership, and Zoun picking Winter Madness.
Even securing their 4th once the Rox is down, it's very...
They vetoed Magnetic North and Maganatha. Interesting vetoes, is what I will say.
Yeah, for sure. We also have Mothership in the pool, our only 3-player.
Zoun vetoed Magnetic North, which does favor aggressive builds. Reynor vetoing Maganatha. I'm a little bit shocked by that.
That can lead to some funny stuff. And then we got Botanical. I think that's the biggest map, or the map with the most bases.
Yeah.
Has it got more than Mothership?
I think Mothership probably has a few more.
Mothership has more, but Botanical is also huge.
Yeah.
That is a big map.
It's a lot of bases, yeah.
So yeah, a lot of macro potential in these games. And yeah, this is best of 7 now, so you only get 1 veto each. It is a 9-map pool. And the final maps to round it out are going to be Persephone and Tokamak, some of the more kind of standard maps, right?
Yeah, so if this series does go longer, we should expect the last 2 games to look fairly standard. Whereas on maps like, Evil Heart, Mothership, there is a lot more potential for some more crazy play from both sides.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
It's interesting that they're getting the double Zerg casters, I guess. Too far, I don't know what Sturgeon is.
And then after that, things become a little bit more normal.
But I appreciate that they're having sort of cast Reynor at some point today. I appreciate it.
Making sure they got their game plans, got their notebooks ready with their build orders, all that good stuff.
Yeah, getting ready, getting locked in, ready to take on their opponent. And yeah, we'll see how they choose to open up here. A lot of times in the best of 7, it's very attractive to open up with something aggressive in game 1, and especially on a map like Evil Heart. Just going for something aggressive, getting some momentum in the series.
Yeah, he's
trying to just, make sure your opponent has to stay honest, has to not cut too many corners.
Yeah, even if it doesn't work, your opponent has to be super wary of you throwing in that kind of build throughout the rest of the series. So an aggressive option is very tempting. It is going to be Evil Heart, super short rush distance. Every time it hits a little bit earlier, it's a little bit more difficult to go, up to 5-6 bases. There are those gold bases in the corners on this map.
Yeah. Yeah, which we could maybe see like some, early hidden expansion kind of thing maybe.
Yeah.
But more so in the late game, it becomes super important to control the corners, right? If the game does go longer. So it's kind of unique in that sense, whereas normally a map would just like spread out kind of flat. But on this map, it becomes super concentrated in like these 2 areas on the map.
Yeah, dude, I love that. I think, the game you saw against Classic, where I think it was Shin, went for that gold base, followed up with a Roach all in. That's the kind of thing I like seeing Evil Heart. But we've seen Reynor is perfectly happy to play a normal game on this. We saw it just now in the previous series. We saw it against Jumi yesterday. So I don't think it necessarily means he's going to do some crazy all in, which was kind of...
If you remember, Reynor didn't play a normal game on Evil Heart. He did try to get a lead early on with mutas, which I wasn't too fond of.
Evil Heart feels pretty good to play on because you get less pull apart by like something like a Mothership you call on the other side of the map, or a War Prism, or something like that, right? The map is more compact, which makes it easier to deal with multi-prong, which is kind of what Zerg struggles with in like the very late game when there's War Prisms, Motherships, all these kind of things running around.
For sure. We are just waiting for the players here. Reynor is ready to go. I think Zoun just needs a moment. They are going to be locking in here for game number 1. You always want to try and get a point on the board in the first game. Just get off to a good start.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when we have the play styles that we do have. Like when both of them likes to play the macro game, you don't just want to have to play it every single game. Like we talked about, you want to have these mixed in curveballs in there. So game 1 is a good time to bring it out, just to, get the nerfs out of the way, get some momentum, and take the series from there. But we'll see if that's what they choose to do. Like we talked about, they could just play completely normal here in the first game.
All right, guys, let's get into it. Game number 1 here coming up between Reynor and Zoun. The first map is going to be Evil Heart. In the bottom left, it is our Protoss in red. Give it up for Zoun.
And in the top right, representing Basilisk, we have the blue circ player, Reynor.
And if you're in the chat, you know what time it is. It is Gamba time. Predictions are open. Place your bets on who you think will claim the series. Best of luck in the chat as we get into our... Oh, there we go. As we get into our ZvP. Coming into this, I'm going to be... I think this is going to be the closest series of the broadcast, to be honest, at least so far. I lean towards Reynor here, but I did just mention that Zoun did defeat Reynor the last time they played in RSL, so Zoun has that historical win over him, but I expect this to be a closer back and forth, and I think I lean towards Reynor here in this series overall. But we'll see. As we're leading into Evil Hearts. Again, Evil Heart is a very small map in the map pool. Hyper aggression is favored on this map. We saw the last time Reynor didn't really embrace that, but I would hope that against Zoun, Reynor is more confident in being more aggressive and being in the face of Zoun. We'll keep an eye on the openers. We'll keep an eye on the Twilight Council timing. Remember, Zoun was hyper aggressive when he played against Reynor last time with the multitude of different variations of Glaive Adepts, where he was able to pull Reynor apart, and I expect to see some of that here. Not every game, of course, but I expect to see that sprinkled in on maps like Evil Hearts as well. Let's go.
Going for that Nexus after Gateway, then we'll be throwing down his core. Slightly more economic focused than getting the core.
I'm a little bit concerned, I'll be honest, a little bit of a meta comments. Sort of, and Sturgeon, they're not the most hype casters. The most energetic is maybe a better way of putting it. Like, I love sort of is hyper analytical, and sort of he always has a lot of insight to provide, especially when a Zerg player is involved in a broadcast. So I do think he brings a lot of value here. Pairing him up with Sturgeon was a choice to make, just because I feel like they're both a little bit more tame, a little bit more tempered in how they speak and how they cast. So that's it's an interesting one.
Not for the initial building, like this, if this is going to be a Stargate, for example, but the follow-up build from the Protoss, he would fly it in at like 5 minutes from a really... Like
usually, if you have a caster or someone like that, you typically pair them up with someone who's a little bit more energetic to like help balance that out.
But then it becomes the follow-up becomes a tricky thing where you have to adjust a lot more. So just being able to get that sneaky scouting later, it's not always easy to do because Protoss gets air units out, they get more stalkers out, so it's a very important thing to be able to pull off. But so far, very standard. We see double adept from Zoun. He's going to put some pressure on. Reynor will respond with some Zerglings of his own, and then we'll see what Stargate unit he goes for. Zoun is definitely one of those Protoss players who could go for a Void Ray here, but Oracle will be the more standard choice for sure.
Yeah, this adept coming into the base now, going to try and pick off a drone or two. Nice Spork trick with
get the drone.
Is able to save that one.
Nice
That's
pick up.
Super nice from Reynor.
Does lose
one drone goes down though. So, I mean, not a disaster or anything. He is able to save the second drone. The Adept will go home, meet up with his buddy. That's going to help him take his third base nice and safely. And it's going to be an Oracle first here from Zoun.
Yeah, and this should be very, very expected by Reynor. He's going to use the links that he made to defend the Adepts to ideally try to keep the Oracle at home here. If the Oracle has to stay to defend the third, it can't be across the map to kill drones. So that's kind of the hope here from Reynor. So we keep this Oracle at home, a little bit busy, run around. Maybe we try to pick at the probe if it comes out. But Zoun being very careful here with the Adepts coming out and covering the path for the probe.
Yeah, so far Stargate opener out of Zoun. He does open up Oracle into a third base. Everything's looking normal. As we mentioned before, right now we're looking at the timing of the Twilight Council. That's what I'm most curious by when it comes to Zoun, is how aggressive is he going to be in the follow-up, how tech heavy is he going to be.
We see Spores at home for Reynor, so he will be prepared for this Oracle harass when it does eventually move over the map.
Yeah, very nice queen position here as well, ready to receive the Oracles. Has good vision on the other side of the map, so he knows that this is pretty much the only angle the Oracle could potentially come in from. So has all the queens here ready to defend. In the meantime, just spreading his creep, making sure he has activeness with the link. He's making a few more links, so maybe looking to either try to catch an adept move out, or either just get some counterattack damage into the third.
Yeah, as this map is so short on the ground, it feels like the
Okay,
creep gets
earlier
from one side
Twilight
of the map to
Council.
the other in such a short time. with
2 more
like
gateways, so
4 or
4
5
gate setup,
tubers. So I
late
like
forge.
that Zoun is kind of paying a lot of focus to the creep spread.
This could be one of two things, either early blink or early
In
glaze.
comes some links to the third base. I thought he was going to go for those adepts then.
Lair
But,
first out of
oh,
Reynor.
here comes some queens as well. This is so funny. They can get to this Protoss space so quickly, and Reynor's still making lings right now.
Yeah.
He's got his lair on the way as well.
Okay.
Yes, this is something you can definitely do on this map, right? Just because of how short it is. Like the creep space is already halfway, right? Like you mentioned. So you just want to put some pressure on here.
Oh, he's forcing an overreaction. Four shield batteries. Yeah, big overreaction.
Out of Zoun here, who's getting 4 shield batteries right now.
Wow.
Dude, this is kind of genius by Reynor. It looks
Yeah.
like an all-in, right? Like that's the only time you ever walk your queens across the map. But on Evil Heart,
Yeah,
it's short enough that
massive
you can actually
misread out of
walk them
Zoun.
back and start spreading that creep again. He's droning behind this. The word count equal right now, but like you say, Zoun made 4 shield batteries. He expects a big attack to be coming, but it's not.
Yeah, and he also warped in a bunch of extra adepts as well, which he does not have glaives. and
He
he's
warped in
actually
extra depths. A blink is delayed, so late blink, extra depths, extra shield batteries, things that he did not need here. And so far, Reynor, he fakes him out. He's in a good position. He's running up.
stalker pressure that's gonna come out of Zoun.
Yeah, this is such a cool map-specific thing here from Reynor. I like that he's kind of trying to put the fear in Zoun in game 1 with an all-in fake, it looked like. But I think now, obviously, Zoun knows the attack isn't coming, so he's going for the more normal follow-up. He's getting his Forge for upgrades, throwing down the Robo, and as Blink starts to finish up here, we should see more and more Stalkers being warped in, and he'll try and pressure Reynor on the other side of the map.
Yeah, he does have a decent amount of gateways. I want to say he has like at least 6. So he's definitely going to try to put some pressure on. We'll see how fast he goes into the Templar Archives behind this, because that will be the most common follow-up here. Reynor in the meantime going into Hydras, which will be very good at using to defend these this upcoming Stalker pressure. And then we'll see what Reynor chooses to do. If he chooses to go back into droning, or if he chooses to like commit into something like Hydra Ling attack or Hydra Ling Bane attack. It's definitely viable options for him.
Yeah, making a lot of Hydras right now to deal with the Zerglings. These Oracles flying around, checking those really early infestation pit or hive. We did see Reynor go Ultralisks on this map against Classic. So Zoun with some good scouting here confirms what is going on. It's actually going to be a Robo Bay here out of Zoun.
Yeah, Robo Bay and a second Robo
Okay,
as well.
interesting.
Looking to go into some Colossus play here most likely, which is definitely not bad versus what Reynor is doing. So we'll see how if Reynor is able to identify this. If he identifies very quickly, he can either try to hit a timing before there's like thermal lands and multiple Colossus out, or he could just opt to go towards Hive, get some Vipers to do with the Colossus. Those are the two most
Yeah, so Reynor, he has 2 options when he scouts. If he scouts, I should emphasize. I believe Zoun should be going for for quadruple Colossus plus 2 timing. That makes the most sense in my mind, but we'll see if we can get there.
Here he comes with these Stalkers. They're surrounded by the Zerg army. They try to escape, but the Lings are there
the
waiting
surround.
for that
Oof.
blink. So many Stalkers will go down here. Huge catch by Reynor.
Yeah, massive catch there. And now, like we talked about before, the Colossus are not out yet. And now there's this massive amount of Hydras.
Yeah, Reynor doesn't even know the Colossus are coming. He didn't even scout.
And like Oracle does not get the stays himself. That's massive.
Zoun needs these Colossus so bad. They're in production right now, but only halfway done. Protoss units are falling. Probes are falling. Zoun has a counterattack on the other side of the map, but will it be enough to offset the huge amount of damage he's taken? Actually, even just the Queens will be enough to deal with these Adepts from Zoun. Stalkers falling left and right, but the Colossus are almost here. Can they save Zoun?
Yeah, it looks like the third base is 100% dead. And
GG.
with this goes the game. So Reynor takes game number 1.
GG, well played. Reynor going for a 3-base all-in. Cutting work is at 68. That was 3-base saturation. Nothing at the 4th base, just Larva. And a really nice setup out of Reynor. Reynor, he was able to force an overreaction with the early Queen move out. He was able to force Zoun to make extra shield batteries, extra warp ins, late blink. It meant that Zoun stumbled his way into the mid-game, trying to go into Colossus. Reynor didn't even scout, by the way. He didn't even know the Colossus were coming. Instead, he just went into his own 3-base all-in, knowing that he had momentum and knowing that he could just go for the kill. GG, well played. And of course, a massive catch in the center of the map. Unfortunately, Zoun just did misread in the early game, and just everything just snowballed from there. We'll see if Zoun can have a bit of a better setup in game number 2. But again, a big reason why this works so well, and the casters tried to emphasize that, is this is a specific Evil Heart build. Or something you can do specifically on Evil Heart, because this is the smallest map in the map pool. In the tournament map pool, you do not get smaller than Evil Heart, so you can do something like faking an all-in with the Queens, because they can just very easily walk back home.
Get your name on the board in that first game.
GG.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you were talking about the fake Ling Queen attack across the map, leading into Zoun was gearing up to go for this blink stalker pressure early on, right? But because of the extra batteries, because of the adepts he had to warp in, he couldn't really find that aggressive timing. And by the time he actually felt confident enough to move out on the map, there was already speed Hydralisk with a bunch of lings ready to pounce on him.
That is right, guys. We are going to be jumping into game number 2 here on Celestial Enclave. Let's see what these guys have in store for us on map number 2. In the bottom left of the map, in red, it's the Protoss player, Zoun.
And in the top right, in the blue colors, we have the Zerg player, Reynor.
Okay, so the map here is Celestial Enclave. This is the only map in the pool with a pocket third base, which is connected to the main, and you can only access this via the worker path there. Only workers can go through there. Talk to us about how this can kind of affect the strategies that we might see on this map, who this might favor, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you're way more likely to see something like a faster third from the Protoss player, and then they can decide if they want to actually use that to try to hit some mid-game timing, or just use that extra income to power through into a faster tech and faster fourth base as well, and just play very defensive. Because as the base layout is in this map, securing your fourth is also quite easy. With once the rocks are down, you just go out to the rocks, and there's only still your natural ramp really to worry about. So it's a very easy map to secure a bunch of bases on, and that's kind of what the Protoss would like to do in this situation, where you have a map like this, you want to try to drag it out and go for the late game.
Like gas.
Reynor did something interesting here, where he went for the 15 hatch before Overlord, very quick, so he's delayed his gas a little bit to compensate for that, to be able to make use of this earlier hatchery, and probably looking to play something fairly economical here.
Yeah, going 15 hatch.
So running it back, I would just echo what's sort of just went for. It's very common for Protoss players to be hyper greedy and get a faster third base. As a result, we do see Reynor trying to catch up in that greed, going for the faster hatchery and going for a later gas geyser and going for better and earlier mineral income as a result of that. We'll see Reynor's cuts even more corners and maybe even like skip link speed. This can also lead into a fast spire or fast lair.
Likely to go for something very defensive. He might have some aggressive option in mind as well with this follow-up, so we'll have to see how he spends his gas, if he keeps binding gas after link speed or not. These were the big things to look for. I think as a Zerg player, you're not really too tempted to take this back base early on, because it is a lot less resources.
Reynor cast is coming,
so
yeah.
We'll see Reynor take a normal third, and then
I would say it's a really weird choice that they made. On top of that, isn't just that, but both Sturgeon and sort of are Zerg players, so it's usually a little bit better to pair them up. I mean, they have Gemini and State were both Protosses, so it would have been nice if they mix some of them in, especially because I think we all expect that it's going to be a Tastosis finals cast, right? It's probably going to be Artosis and Tasteless cast in the finals, so having either State or Gemini here, I feel like would have been a little bit better, alongside sort of.
He might mix it up. He might go for some Void Rays instead of the Oracles. We'll have to see as this Stargate does finish up. Reynor, on the other hand, he's got his queens at the front, going to try and spread some more creep spread and get that going.
Yeah, Reynor actually going for a very forward third here on the
Void Ray first.
Could definitely lead to some potential, Muta play, or maybe some Roach Ravager, Queen timings, these kind of things, because this gas is very tempting to get, because if you're going for something like an all-in, you obviously need less drones to get the double gas income, right, just from that rich gas. So we'll have to see what he chooses to do. He could just play a normal game from this hatch, but as soon as you see this as Zoun, you gotta be thinking about there could definitely be some aggressive.
Yeah, so very quickly touching on what Zoda just said, hyper aggressive base here by Reynor. He's going for the faster high yield gas geyser. I would imagine this is for mutas. As he said, the option is also there for like a roach all-in, but I feel like all-ins are weaker on Celestial Enclave, so I don't think it's ideal to try to break a turtling player on this map. But going into mutas definitely makes sense if we want to take advantage of that gas geyser. We'll see which one Reynor does go for. And again, at least Zoun is aware.
About taking his third base here. The Zergans poke in and see a couple of depths and then just go back.
Yeah, we do see 2 more gases coming in for Zoun as well, pretty early here. So we'll have to wait and see what the tech option is going to be. And there's the fleet beacon.
Ooh.
So I would expect this is for Tempest most
likely.
likely.
Tempest Rush.
Though that could be a little bit dicey if we do see some sort of Ravager Queen walk early on. But once the Tempests are out, they will be fine to deal with that as well.
Yeah, Zoun definitely likes his Tempest, doesn't he?
He really does, yeah. Especially, like, doesn't matter if it's early build Tempest or if it's late game, he really likes to go into those Tempest compositions.
Oh, this Void Ray actually going to pick off a drone, forces another Spore Trick. Oh, and meanwhile the Oracle catches another 2 drones, transferring from one base
nice
to
pickups.
this is already decent damage. When you make a Void Ray first, you don't necessarily expect to get as many drones as if you were to go double Oracle, right? So the fact that he's able to get 3 drones here as well is really nice for him.
Yeah, definitely something should be happening.
Carrier rush.
Carriers, not Tempest. So he definitely wants to keep this hidden for a bit longer. Because the carriers, if the Reynor gets a whiff of this early on, he could really take advantage of this and be very, very greedy. But if he doesn't, then it could be very, very strong for Zoun to suddenly show up with.
Fun fact, this is a personal anecdote. This reminds me, there was a clown in the chat. I remember it was like a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, where we were talking about potential openers that Hero could go for off of, and we discussed like faster fleet beacon into a carrier rush, and he was adamant saying that no one at the pro level goes for a carrier rush. And I think he insinuated that we only cast like diamond level players or something to say something like that. And it's like, I mean, clearly you just don't watch StarCraft because it happens. So we have our carrier rush.
Yeah, I would think it's more likely he's looking to some kind of timing as he's not getting +1.
As sort of is saying, sorry, I should emphasize this. Going for a carrier rush does mean that you want to be more aggressive and more assertive and go for an earlier timing, because Tempest, they just scale better. They just scale better into a longer game. Tempest are more efficient, so carriers have less longevity here in this game.
But that's the kind of thing where the timing window is quite short. As soon as carrier starts to get up into like 5-6 counts, they start to do really well versus Hydras as well.
Ooh, and we actually see Overlord speed on the production tab for Reynor. That's often a cue that they want to go into drops or make a creep highway, something like that.
Reynor going for his own all-in.
Can use to be aggressive. He is making a lot of.
So Reynor, it looks like we now have confirmation. What was the point of that high yield gas geyser base? It was to rush into Hydras and go for a big Ling Hydra all-in with drop lords as well. And what do we have to defend? A handful of carriers. Now, depending on the Hydra counts, Zoun might be able to hold on, but it's going to be close.
Now, I believe. And the mothership coming online here as well in the upcoming moments.
It's going to be clutch.
This is the timing that Reynor needs to hit. If it waits much longer, it's going to be very, very hard to break through here.
Yeah, once the carriers hit a kind of critical mass, it becomes very difficult for the Hydralists to be able to out DPS the interceptors and actually win the fight. And ooh, nice pick off there. Those queens do get that.
Here they come.
And these units have to be so.
Hydras will go for the dive.
Because Reynor making nothing but Hydras right now. He sees his moment.
Well.
Yeah, the speed
gets one.
Well.
Oh my god.
One carrier. Will he be able to get a second here? This will be an absolutely huge pick off for Reynor if he can get one more. They're slowly.
He gets 2.
Like
oh my god.
Huge win for Reynor.
I think that's just game, to be honest.
Just finished, so that could maybe be the saving grace here for Zoun, but this is so far looking really, really rough. The timing here from Reynor is going to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, Reynor not making any more drones. He's on 63 right now. Another carrier is going to go down. 3 in a row.
Jesus, 3 carriers. The whole point of this was to build up the critical mass of carrier.
Also sending it. He's going to follow this up with 20 Lins and 13 Dropper Lords right now. The pressure, he'll be able to send all those Dropper Lords into that pocket base.
Yeah, that's going to definitely be something that can either work up really great, or
Jesus.
Oh
my god.
As well, so we have to wait and see what actually happens. But
there's the instant replay, catching the carriers.
Right as he's setting up to go for his own timing.
But again, we have the massive Doom drop into the main, into the pocket. Show us the Doom drop. It's happening.
And yeah, now going for the full-up timing. Let's hope he has an overseer with this army, because that's going to be the one.
He says timing. Remember, Reynor's all in. Reynor, he cut workers early at 63.
I have not seen an overseer. I'm very worried about Cloak going down.
Dives on the army. There's Cloak.
See anything. It looks like
no detection. No detection.
Oh
my god.
Down, so now he can see the Protoss
okay, he has enough.
And these Hydras can get to work on these carriers, on these Zealots. Reynor looking super strong.
That was harder
right
than
now.
it needed to be.
Yeah, that was probably the best scenario that Zoun could hope for. But Reynor was just so far ahead in supply after that initial trade with the carriers. Just too many Hydras for Zoun to actually deal with at this stage of the game.
Yeah, everything seems
GG.
good. Reynor's way here. GG is called. Reynor takes map number 2. And look at the smile on his face. Yeah. He's happy with that one. That's the dream scenario, right? Your opponent tries to attack into you with air units as you're doing like a Hydra timing.
Yeah, especially on a map like that where you're a little bit concerned about this is probably a good map for Protoss to drag the game out into the late game, and then you're going for this timing too, because you don't really
share map. What games did I miss? You missed the majority of the broadcasts. You missed both semifinals. You missed Classic versus Reynor and Hero versus Zoun. This is the bronze match, 3rd place match.
It feels really, really good.
We're halfway
I
through.
really like Reynor's kind of game plan coming in here. His
Reynor's
choice
up
of builds
2-0. Wanting it
working out
back here
very
again.
well.
Reynor, he was going for a massive 3-base all-in, powered with the high yield gas geyser, going for a Ling Queen Hydra all-in. Meanwhile, Zoun was going for his own carrier rush. And carrier rushes can work well, but as was being emphasized by the casters, you have to build them up and you have to hit that early timing with a critical mass of carrier. To lose 3 carriers early on, that was game. That was game then and there. To lose all 3 carriers, that was brutal. And now we're getting into game number 3. Reynor with a comfortable lead in the series, and can Reynor close it out? Remember, it's the best of 7. Best of 7, he needs 2 more to claim the series.
It's harder for Protoss to pull off something like the natural block, to block the early hatchery. At the same time, you could potentially, if you want to go down the gambly route, you could
Mothership.
early pools here as Reynor Zoun would not be able to scout them as early as he normally would. We'll have to see.
Yeah, Mothership, a very interesting one. Let's get into it, guys. In the top left, in red, it is our Protoss player, Zoun.
And in the bottom right, we have the blue Zerg player, Reynor.
It always feels weird calling this the bottom right because it's like slightly off center. It is technically on the right, so you know we'll roll with it. Better than using the clock time, so I like that. Here we do see.
Oh yes, for those that are in Europe, good morning, buenos dias, dzień dobry, dzień dobry. Having my first cup of coffee. Calm down, but what do you mean first? What do you like first of 5? Calm down, baby, calm down.
You prefer to send your first overlord towards the natural that's the furthest away, because the second overlord would obviously get to the other natural a little bit quicker, right, compared to the other.
It's like you wake up, you're like, oh, you getting some food? Yeah, I'm getting my first breakfast. It's like, oh my god.
There's not that many early options. Like a cannon
rush,
you still just want to see it in your natural. You wouldn't really need to see the forge to know a cannon rush is happening, for example. So a little bit less to worry about. There could potentially be like some one-base builds that Protoss could bring out, but it's very gambly for them as well. Right?
Discussing the map itself, welcome to Mothership. Mothership is a very large map of the map pool, long rush distance by ground, a lot of bases, of course, as well, very open. Because of this, it is difficult as the Protoss player to turtle up. They were touching on the fact that the reason why Reynor went for an all-in on Celestial Enclave is because Celestial Enclave is a map where it is easy to turtle up, and it does favor a longer and later game for a Protoss. Here it is the opposite. Here, because the map is so open, this favors longer and later games from Zerg players as bases are more accessible, and Reynor can be even more aggressive on a map like Mothership. So it's going to be up to Zoun to bring something different to the table here. And we'll see. We'll see if he goes for an early Twilight Council. We'll see if he goes for early Glaives.
Deal with that. In this case, there's not going to be any vision from Reynor on the gateway here. So he won't know if it's a Chrono Boost or if it's a Stalker or a Adept that comes out
So
of the
far,
gateway.
Stargate opener.
So he'll have to be playing a little bit more blindly here in the early game compared to what you normally would. But it's not something that should have any major impact on the game.
Yeah, you also get to see the core, right? If you see that warp gate instantly, you know it's not a Stargate because they have to spend the gas on that instead. Yep. So yeah, a little bit less information than normal, but Reynor will try and navigate his way through this. I like how he's trying to micro his heart out to catch this probe. Would be a nice little pickoff if he can get it. Yep. But the Adepts are coming over. Oh, hang on a minute. That probe will actually fall as it goes around the corner. Nice. Okay, it goes down. And here come the Adepts.
Yeah, and Reynor going for the third queen before the third hatch here is going to be quite safe versus this double adept pressure. The one thing that could feel a bit bad for him if Zoun wasn't going for this double adept pressure and he makes a bunch of lings, then you feel a little bit foolish sitting there with 8 lings and there's nothing coming your way. But in this case, it's going to work out pretty well for Reynor, I think.
Yes, indeed. And we do see an Oracle behind this, even a third adept for Zoun. Going to be going back into the Oracles as the Void Ray not seeming to pan out too well for him last game. And Reynor taking this triangle base here.
Yeah, usually when there is a triangle like this, it's sometimes more attractive to take it because it kind of indirectly covers your main and natural from oracles and stuff like that, right? As it's up in front, they have to go all the way around to actually attack your other 2 bases. So that could be the reasoning behind it.
I'm just looking at the mini map, and there's like there's airspace behind the third and the main, right, where you can kind of go from one to the other. So that is somewhat nice. I mean, at the end of the day, it's more preference, right? The players have bases that they like to take based on their style and stuff. Right now, we do see.
I'd have to echo what Sort of said. I mean, taking that base does make it more awkward for the Oracle to rotate back and forth between the bases, just because now you have another area where you have your Queen and your Spore in position. But more importantly, the third base is being taken, and again, we're keeping our eyes open for the Twilight Council timing and the Forge timing.
Is usually kind of expected, but anything more than that, you start to feel pretty happy as a Protoss player, I would say. But so far, just droning as Reynor, not making any extra links, trying to punish a third base here or anything.
As sort of said, it is expected to lose around 2 workers to the Oracle.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a Reynor's staple.
Twilight
He's
counts on
making
a forge,
quite
a little bit
few links to
early.
Try and pressure the third base of the Protoss. But this game, he's kind of done something a little bit different. He's just making as many drones as possible.
Yep.
And he's not taking damage to the Oracles, right? If you don't have links, then the Oracles are free to move across the map, try to pick off your workers. But Reynor's kind of got the best of both ends, I feel, here, because he's not taking any damage and he didn't make any extra links.
Yeah, exactly. Sound obviously knowing that Reynor does like to make these links. You can see how careful he was with the Oracles, keeping both of them at home and then even splitting them off in 2 different directions to check for links and stuff. He's playing it very, very carefully because he does not want to get his third cancelled here. Does come across the map here with the 2 Oracles for depth pressure. And Reynor should have more than enough units here to actually deal with this.
Oh, Sport's too late! Oh my god!
At this base, 6 drones going down. So Zoun finally found his,
Reynor being a little bit greedy.
Series. The Adepts, I imagine they will not commit to that shade, as there's a ton of links waiting. And this is what we were talking about, that airspace.
And then 1 queen in the main.
Allows you to fly straight into the main after you harass the third base. It's difficult to get the queens back in time. 9 drones going down total. This is a very good early game for Zoun, it feels like.
Yeah, definitely the best position he's been in so far in this series. Getting these 9 drones is a massive, massive pickoff. Reynor going for the +1 melee is pretty good for him because Zoun is going into that Blink Stalker. If he was doing something like, like the builds the classic pulled out with the charged Archon timings, this would be a bit more suboptimal. But he doesn't even have the Roach Warren to fall back on in case he needs to make Roaches. But in this case, we should just be looking at Zoun trying to put some pressure on with the Blink and +1 here when those upgrades finishes up.
Yeah, I like that Reynor's taking the time to take out all these destructible rocks as well. That opens up more passageways on the map, gives him more, ways to send his Zerglings to the Protoss base, whether it's for a counterattack, whether it's to get a surround on the Protoss army if they push. It just gives the Zerg more options, which always feels great.
Yep. Started overload speed there for a second encounter.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Using many
saw overload speed
for Reynor, and that's actually
time. Wow.
Yeah, it's actually quite nice versus the Stalker pressures because like if you ever get up a position where you can't defend your base, you can always just move to a different base, right? And if you're playing these Ling heavy composition like Reynor is here, you kind of need all the extra hatcheries to actually have the larva to make the links in the first place. So not a bad choice at all here.
Yeah, Ling's very lava inefficient compared to more expensive units, so having those extra injects on the hatcheries will be nice. He's pressuring this base right now. I think Reynor might just let this go for the castle. Oh, never mind that. Reynor goes
oh, stasis goes off.
Stasis was a huge. More than a half the Ling's getting tied up, but he will pick off a unit or 2, fall back, wait for that stasis to wear out. And he's making so many Lings right now of 72 drones. I kind of like Reynor's position here. He's even got double Evo.
Yeah, and Zoun not really committing at all to this pressure, just wanted to force some units out. He's already taking into the same thing he did on the first map, which is double Robo Colossus here, and going into charge as well. So Reynor should be pretty happy with this. He got away with a pretty high drone count, double Evo like you mentioned, and Zoun at the same time is just going up for this next timing. There shouldn't really be any big counter timing here for Reynor like we saw in the first game. He should just be looking to power up this creep, power up his drone count, and then deal with the army.
I feel like Zoun didn't really get to show...
From here, we're kind of building up. I feel like Zoun had the greater early game. He had a really nice position early on, but he didn't really press the advantage. He's backing off, he's taking up second Robo, double Colossus production. We saw Zoun attempt this on Evil Heart. We're seeing it again here on Mothership.
Thermal, the range upgrade for the Colossus on the way. Thermal Lance is getting charged and upgrades. I think this looks like it might be our first kind of macro-orientated late game of the series here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're getting there.
Sort of like Colossus Stalker composition is something that can definitely hit very powerful mid-game timings here, but it's also, the Colossus is a unit that doesn't really scale super well into the later stages of the game when units like Lurkers, Vipers, Ultras come out. So definitely, most likely we'll be seeing some sort of timing coming out here from Zoun. It could just be a timing to deny a base and then go back home and you'll get stormed behind it or something like that. But so far we don't see any Templar Archives, we see a couple of sentries getting warped in as well. So most likely he's just going to actually commit to this double Colossus production timing here.
Yeah, kind of the mortal enemy of the Hydraling Bane army is Storm. Kind of anything other than that and you feel like you can fight it, especially on creep. So we'll have to see what the follow-up is for Zoun as he sees this big army, but he will not have time to do that. Reynor's making almost 40 Banelings at once, going to pull the trigger here. Try to hit a timing before there's too many Colossus.
Yeah, I think Zoun should be pretty okay here actually. Like he has a lot of force fields. He has, I believe now 4 Colossus out, and he has Thermal Lance and +2 about to finish. So unless he gets a really good fight here with a good surround as Reynor, this should be pretty hard to break.
Baneling speed wasn't finished there. Those Banelings waddled forward and very slowly, and it just finishes now. It feels like a bit of an awkward moment there with the upgrade timing for Reynor.
Yeah, and then seeing all the Colossus in the center, he just pulls back to creep. He's probably going to make a few more banelings here, as he has 11 more banelings coming in. And if Zoun oversteps on creep, Reynor will definitely be ready to pounce. But I think we're not going to be looking at Reynor trying to actually fight Zoun anywhere off creep at the moment.
Yeah, Reynor's on 89 drones right now, and I think 6 bases.
So
so
late hive,
economy
late
is
infestation bit, late hive. Reynor, he wanted to end the game early on with lair tech.
Be able to go to hive, get ultras,
Zoun in a better position.
Shroud, whatever he wants to do with that. But I don't think Zoun wants to go there himself. He's looking like he's setting up for a big push here at the front.
Yeah, Zoun very committed to this timing.
Reynor getting ready for the surround. Ooh, nice force fields. Very nice. Jesus.
The flank coming in from the back though.
So much link bait stuck on those.
Oh my god.
The flank from the back. Huge damage with those banelings. A lot of Zerg getting deleted though, and Zoun takes game number 3 here with a sharp timing. Those Colossus plus the force fields, it became a meat grinder for the Zerg.
Yeah, the force field there are really key, right? When there's no Ravagers to break the force field. No
yeah, GG well played. Again, we saw that Reynor, as we were trying to emphasize, he had no intention to go into a longer and later game state, so he had no further tech. How do you deal with a heavy Colossus composition? Vipers, Lurkers, Ultras, right? Hive tech is what you need, but Reynor, he was maxed out on Lingbane Hydra. You saw the late infestation bit. We tried to point that out. Late infestation bit, late tech, late hive. He was caught with lair tech, and you saw this army dominate. You can see it here with the force field just completely locking down the Lingbane. Reynor, he went for it anyway, but banelings do not trade well against Stalkers, not against this kind of army, and in the end, snowballed out of control. GG well played. We have a back and forth. We have a game here. We have a series. Let's go. That's all we wanted, Pappy. That's all we wanted. We wanted a back and forth series, and we'll see if Zoun can maintain that momentum. Very quickly, what is the next map? I can't quite recall the next map here. Quickly checking the brackets. Up next, Winter Madness. Ooh, okay, a stronger defensive map. If Zoun wanted to get into Skytoss, if he wanted to get into Tempest, then this is a viable map to do so on.
Until he gets Vipers, where he can abduct the Colossus into his army and take the AoE splash damage away from the Protoss.
Yeah. No, I think
usually we drink about 1.5 liters of coffee every morning.
Yeah.
But then
Jesus.
He didn't quite realize what composition that Zoun was on, right? He
Oh my god.
Initially, but did not realize that the
You're just fueled completely by coffee, Pappy.
If he knew about that,
Calm
he
down.
would try to hit the hive a little bit faster and just be a little bit more defensive, maybe try some bailing runbys or something. But either way, here we go into game number 4.
It is going to be on Winter Madness, guys. Map number 4. Reynor currently leading the series 2-1. In the top left, the red Protoss, it is Zoun.
And in the bottom right, we have the blue Zerg player, Reynor.
Yeah, in that last game, you'd love to get to Hive as Reynor, but you just didn't have the time, right?
Yeah.
RSL forever. You love to see it. We want to keep this going as long as we can. So cool to see the crowd out here supporting the players.
No, it's amazing to have a big tournament like this, this event like this. So much energy, so much positiveness. Feels amazing to be here. But yeah, that last game, I think Reynor, like if there's something like a Storm follow-up instead of the Colossus there from Zoun, I think he's definitely in a bit of trouble there, as we have like 50 banelings about to collapse on him. At the very least, we're looking for a pretty good trade-out for Reynor. But in this case, just the complete counter composition basically for that time of the game. And yeah, Zoun managed to just snowball it and carry it into the win. And we'll see what he chooses to go for here.
Yeah, that was interesting because he did it off 4 bases, right? We saw Jumi try an attack with Colossus, but that was off 3 bases yesterday.
Yeah.
Reynor was able to hold that one, but this one, the Protoss player actually gets all the way max first. It still hits before Hive. Really cool time in there. Right now we do see this probe trying to deny some of the mining. Very standard opening from both players. We've got the Hatch Gas Pool and Gateway Nexus coming out for Zoun.
Yeah, very standard so far. And most likely we're just going to see the Stargate. It's very rare to see any deviations from that really these days. Sometimes, occasionally, we'll see like the Robo into 4-gate Glaives kind of opener. But for the most part, Stargate should be what we should expect here. And from Reynor, he's just opening super standard this game as well, similar to the previous games. And maybe on this map, I think he's going to probably try to play a bit more standard. Trying to play the Hydroling Bane compositions can be very good in certain situations. But it's really one of those things that can lead into trouble like we saw in last game.
Yeah, I like this map, kind of going for a mid-game or even late game as the Zerg. Once the Protoss gets up to 4 bases or even 5 bases, it feels like you have a lot of ways to attack them and harass them. You can go into Lurkers with Nidus networks. You can use the drop overlords. There's lots of ways to harass your opponent here. The Stargate is coming out for Zoun.
Kind of. Like I would still push back and say that Winter Madness is one of the more defensive maps in the map pool. Not as defensive as Celestial Enclave, of course, but still very defensive and very prone to longer and later games. I do feel like Zoun is going to be more comfortable on this map, more so than Reynor. But again, this isn't as extreme as like Tokamak or Celestial or some of these, or Persephone, for example. But we'll see. So far, ooh, does force a cancel. Or does delay.
Don't kill that in time and the adept gets across. You can suddenly lose your drone and then your build can be thrown way off.
Yeah, absolutely.
The adept tries to shade in the main, but with the Zerglings there, does have to cancel.
Yeah, and Zoun being very conservative with the second adept as well, so no double adept pressure here. Just gonna be looking to scout a little bit with the adept, force a couple of links, and be happy to go back home again here. And we're probably gonna see the same dance as last game, where Reynor is gonna try to move out across the map with these links, try to force the Oracle to stay at home, and in the meantime, just getting out as many drones as possible.
Yeah, we do see this Oracle finishing up. Last game, Zoun was actually able to get quite a lot of damage done at the third and the main of Reynor. I think he picked off a decent amount of drones, which always sets the Zerg economy back. You don't want to be losing those if possible. So he will take his third base here, and then once the second Oracle comes out, they will join up, fly across the map once he's safe. And again, Reynor not making too many. I think he has 4 lings already, so with these additionally, he may be able to pressure this base slightly, try to keep those Oracles at home.
Yeah, definitely. So we can definitely see the respect that Zoun is giving to Reynor, because this Oracle, if you have the 2 adepts still at home, it usually prefers to just go straight across the map.
Yeah.
But he left both the adepts at home and the first Oracle, definitely respecting Reynor's potential to make a bunch of links and try to cancel that third, right? Playing it very safe.
Yeah, we do see the Oracle already taking a decent amount of damage on it. Shields, that's nice for the Zerg player. You're able to shoot these Oracles away before they commit to diving your drone line. We have a shield battery come down at the third, just trying to be super safe, make sure he's airtight here. Roach Run on the way for Reynor, so this looks like for the first time it could be one of these lurker builds we were talking about. It could also be a Roach Ravager timing or something crazy. We'll have to see what Reynor's...
Well, we see really safe play out of Reynor. So early Roach Run here, this does mean that he will have Roaches if he needs them, if he's up against a more Zealot heavy or even Adept heavy composition. Oh, Oracles, they dive in.
It's a better defense than last game, definitely.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised Zoun committed to this. It looks like there were lots of Lings and Queens waiting for this Protoss army. Reynor target firing down the Oracles as best he can with the Queens, leaving those Adepts to the Zerglings. And right now he hasn't lost anything. Oh, no target fire on that, so only 1 drone going down total. Very good defense by Reynor.
Yeah, the one thing I'm a little bit puzzled about here is the very late lair here from Reynor. Normally when you're going for this fast Roach Warren delayed Evo build, you usually time it with a fast lair, especially when you're going to something like +1 melee or range attacks here as Reynor. So I'm kind of thinking maybe that was a bit of a mistake. We'll have to see if we have something planned here in the meantime. And Zoun is just going into the same thing as been doing in all these games and just going into +1 and blink.
Do you see the gateway count? So we have 4 gates on the way. That's a heavy gateway count here. If Zoun doesn't take any gases, this is 6. Oh, never mind. He's 6 gases. Sorry, 6 gateways in total. Rushing into the Fleet Beacon, rushing into Sky Toss. So Zoun is building up and trying to rush into Sky Toss. Meanwhile, as sort of was alluding to, late lair out of Reynor, which means delayed Hydra production. As I believe the goal was to go into lair, into Hydras, into maybe even fast lurkers.
6 gas here from the Protoss and you see some Blink Stalkers, you would expect it to be either, well, most likely Storm or it could be like in the last game where you showed the Colossus. So kind of a nice mind game here from Zoun, where he's going to show the same thing as he did in the previous game, but it's actually going to be something completely different. And with the second Stargate coming down, you would kind of expect that this is for most likely carriers. Could maybe be Tempest, but usually when you go Tempest, you would like to pair that with Storm, right?
Dude, I had a ladder game the other day where the guy went Fleet Beacon and 3 Stargates and then didn't make any capital ships, and I made a bunch of Corruptors like an idiot, and I just died. That was really annoying. I don't think we're going to see that this game. Reynor, much better than me. It is the Mothership coming out, and I imagine we'll be seeing some Tempest or carriers. Yeah. There we go. There's the first Tempest here. Blink is done now, and +1 is finishing up. Reynor already taking his 5th base right now, and his Infestation Pit Hive already on the way before 7 minutes.
Yeah, so this is definitely kind of build where if Reynor was doing what he was doing last game, which is going for this massive Hydroling Bane timing, it would be close to impossible for Zoun to hold, right? With no Storm, no Colossus, no massive amounts of gateway units. But in this case, kind of reading out on the mind games here right a little bit, doing the same thing, selling the information to Reynor, and he's gonna get the best case scenario for him, I think, is actually playing versus lurkers with this setup, because normally when you're playing against lurkers, you want to go into Tempest eventually anyways.
Yeah.
But he's just gonna skip a couple of steps.
Yeah, it's one of those things where Reynor, he was late to take up into Hive and late to take up into Hydras and Lurkers. Meanwhile, Zoun is fast to rush into Tempest, and Zoun is getting away with it, right? Because Reynor isn't all-inning. Like, Reynor, he's not all-inning. Reynor's playing macro. He's playing for a longer game, and Zoun is beating him to a longer game by getting into fast Tempest already. So Zoun's in a pretty decent position here. We'll see if he can embrace the 4th base, get saturated, and perfect his army.
He's getting a second Evo here, so I suspect he's gonna get both eventually here. But when you're making a lot of lurkers and you're going to Hive like this, you're gonna be pretty gas-starved in the long term. So you do want to end up making a lot of links down the line. So just getting the upgrades when once you get Adrenal and couple of attack upgrades, these links become super powerful at dealing with sell-up run-bys or counter-attacks or whatever, right?
Yeah, wow, a lot of upgrades on the way. He's also got armor and Adrenal, the range for the lurkers as well. Meanwhile, Storm is being researched for Zoun. He has a couple Tempests out with that Mothership. No carriers on the way right now. More gateways finishing up here. This game is starting to heat up a little bit.
Yeah, basically just getting to the standard late game composition, just a little bit out of order by going the Fleet Beacon before the Templar Archives. But should end up in a very standard late game here, actually. And this is going to be the first time we're going to see a proper late game between these two.
Dude, Reynor's on 101 drones.
Yeah, this is definitely...
Oh my god, I just noticed that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Zoun's got a lot of workers. He's on 80 probes.
Yeah.
And I looked at Reynor and there was 3 numbers there. I was like, what is going on right now? His economy is going to be amazing. I mean, you probably want to put some of those into some static defense as we go into this late game.
Yeah, that's kind of the big benefits for Reynor of Sound.
Tempest are revealed for the first time.
Normally in Storm, you still kind of have to respect the Protoss Grand Army and be a little bit careful. But seeing the fast Fleet Beacon and the fast Skytoss units here, you can actually go a bit higher on drones and then mine a bunch of minerals and gas with those drones and then turn them into static. So you have a much more stable setup going into the late game.
Yeah, definitely. We were talking to Reynor before this series, and he was saying that he thinks if you can get to the late game against Protoss, it's not too bad, it's playable, you have chances to win. So it looks like for once we are going to be seeing this kind of late game here. He's getting his Corruptors on the way. Could be a Broodlord transition here as the Greatest Spire finishes up. He's going for the beginnings of what looks to be a Spore Forest here with all these Spore Crawlers coming down.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the time of the match where this is kind of the tricky part for the Zerg when you're trying to get into the late game, where you need to have a lot of upgrades, you need double Spire upgrades, you need Infestors, you need Vipers, Broodlords, a lot of expensive units to get. But as you can see, Sound pretty much already has his late game army up and ready. He's ready to go out on the map and start poking and looking for some fights. So now it's kind of on Reynor to try to keep Sound a little bit busy so that he can't put too much pressure on him, while Reynor is setting up his perfect late game army. And once we get there, then we'll see Reynor starting to look for some more...
Yeah, as we're kind of, as sort of is alluding to, like, Reynor needs time to perfect his army with upgrades. Like, his upgrades are still very lacking. Meanwhile, Zoun is about to finish up +3. Like, +3 attack is almost done, and his army scales better, of course. Like, it's a very hyper-efficient composition, going Tempest, Archon, Blinkstalker, Storm. Where Zoun is favored at the moment, Reynor needs time.
You're certainly so much more efficient at fighting sellouts, right? So you can actually take these fights head on and keep some map control. You don't just want to give up the entire map and just get stuck in your corner and let the Protoss expand for free and control the entire map. So very nice play out of Reynor. Gonna lose this hatchery most likely, but at this point in the game, you're not really super ready to actually saturate this space, because you kind of have to keep everything nice and tight as a Zerg player here, not to get pulled apart by a War Prism or a potential like Mothership trying to sneak around the map. So Reynor take it slow.
Yeah, I kind of like that he went for that base. If you take kind of the bases on the bottom left side of the map, that's very close to the Protoss 4th base, so they can warp units in there like Zealots, run them down to your base super quickly. So that does kind of make sense. We have a second Spire coming down for some more upgrades. This War Prism is hanging out in the airspace right now, and when the Zerg's not looking, he's going to try and warp in a ton of units in the natural or the main. This one Stasis gets a lot of Zerglings here.
Yeah, at this stage of the game as Reynor, you're pretty much just looking to avoid the army, because the way the Tempest function with their long range is that if you're close to the army, you're just going to constantly be bleeding out units. But you can actually fight it, but you just want to take one big fight against it. You don't want to have this constant trading back and forth. So Reynor is just going to try to avoid the army, keep him busy, and then once he's actually ready to fight, then we'll see him try to engage. Doing a good job here with the links, just keeping a little bit preoccupied. In the meantime, securing up this base again, like you mentioned, getting the second Spire online, getting more Corruptors. Probably going to see a couple of Infestors get added in here as well.
Yeah, that was kind of funny to see a drone go to take a base in the top right, and there's just 2 zealots waiting for him there.
Yeah, the problem is at the moment, Reynor, does he have any spellcasters? Without spellcasters, it's going to be difficult to actually engage here with Zoun. I know that we're still working on the upgrades, of course. I think he might have a couple of infestors. I don't think he has any vipers though. And the 10% push forward, the base goes down.
Protoss army is moving across the map right now.
Yeah, obviously, like we mentioned, Zoun just out here looking to get some value out of the Tempest, see if he can kill some stuff for free, and in the meantime, just securing more bases. And Reynor, he's still building up, right? And he has a really high drone count still. When you actually want to start to get a fighting army out, you probably need to go down even lower to like the 70s, like high 60s in terms of warrior count. But you obviously want to keep a high drone count for as long as possible, just so you can soak up as many resources as possible.
Dude, there's so many upgrades on the production tag here. We've got 3-3 coming down for Reynor, as well as that +2 attack flyers on the air units. A Dark Shrine going to be added in. I feel like you should always do that as a Protoss. Like, it's not that expensive a building. In the late game, if you have a big fight and you can warp in DTs to a new base or something and shut that down, that could be a game-winning move. So I like that. This little hit squad of Stalkers and one Observer picks off some creep there, whilst this War Prism that we saw in the airspace finally gets put to use as he denies a hatchery there.
Yeah, Zoun probably just looking to trade out some of these Stalkers. At this stage of the game, he would probably just want to replace them with either more Tempest or potentially some Immortals or Archons or something like that. But you don't really just want to throw them away for free either, right? So he's kind of out here just seeing if he can find some nice trades for his Stalkers. Nice fungal here from Reynor.
Can he get the infestor?
Such an efficient
not quite.
Stalkers gets the fungal into the lurker burrow. Doesn't lose it. One unit. You were talking about you want to trade them out for something, but Reynor does not let him get anything there. Yeah. I'm not sure what that was. That changeling? That seems like pretty overkill for a changeling or two. But yeah, he will shut that down.
You have 3 more Stargates. Carriers are on the way.
Here, as we kind of get into this super
Zoun doubling now with Sky Toss.
Big fight or some run-bys.
Yeah, so what you really need to start off the fight is a fungal on the Protoss army. Because otherwise what happens if you just try to straight up run on the army is he's just going to kite away and use Time Warp, Stutter Step, Storms, and you end up bleeding out so many units as you try to connect. You really need that fungal to start the fight.
So I'm a little bit concerned here for Reynor just because, I don't know if you noticed, the Observer hasn't really actually shown the main army of Reynor in quite some time. But there it is. It's very Broodlord heavy. It's very Lurker heavy. There's not actually that many Corruptors. We have 2 Vipers. I want to say we're building up to 6 Infestors. I don't know if I'm really convinced by Reynor's composition against a heavy Skytoss composition that Zoun is working with.
Obviously, they have Chrono, and if they go for these air units earlier in the game, like Zoun did, they often have the upgrade lead. But Reynor doing his best to keep up here.
Yeah, it's just the kind of thing where like when you're going into late game as historic, there's so many upgrades to get.
Okay, we're getting rid of the Hydras and Lurkers. I like this.
Lurker upgrades, and you're just gonna have to make sure that you want to keep somewhat of a bank, right? So you can actually make sure that if a fight happens, you have.
And you can see as Reynor bleeds out the Hydra Lurker, he's making more Corruptors.
But yeah, some small trade here happening with Lurkers. Reynor probably also similar to Zoun, looking to trade out some of these units. Definitely want to keep some of them alive so we can deal with Zealot Runbys and so on. But for the most part, he's looking to replace these with more Corruptors, more Infestors, these kind of things.
Yeah, some of those Lurkers will go down. I love that he's adding a Nidus network on here. This will give him the option to be aggressive on the Protoss side of the map. You can't really get your Broodlords over there easily, so this gives you a way to still harass the Protoss and hurt some of their economy. One random Zealot almost takes out a Spore, but the Lings will help it out there.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where like Niduses, you can either use them to just put some pressure on the Protoss, keep them off of your side of the map, or you can just use them defensively on your bases to allow your Lurkers to rotate from one base to another if there's like a big attack coming in as well. We'll see what he uses it for here, but in the meantime, Microblow Shroud and Ultra Cavern coming out as well. This will be nice for him to have like a small ground army that can actually deal with counter-pressuring sound spaces, but also deal with potential incoming run-bys as well. Because right now, I think Reynor is pretty happy with the look of his main army.
Rangers had 9 scores in production. I'm curious.
I'm still not. There we go. Look at this. Only 12 Corruptors. Like I'm not convinced by 12 Corruptors, Pappy. I don't know. So I'm not convinced by Reynor's army yet. But here we go. We have a Nidus into the main.
Here's the first Nidus of the game.
Forces a recall.
Probably got a few Lurkers in there. If you can get them into a mineral line, it'll be annoying to deal with as the Protoss. But Zoun shuts that down super early, which opens the window for these units to push this base here.
Yeah, I think Reynor is just happy to force Zoun back home there. Just keeping him off the map, giving him more time to mine out his bases. Because when you have this like massive Broodlord army, it's so slow. You kind of have to just take bases one at a time. So anytime he gives Zoun away from him, he can just peacefully mine his bases and start slowly moving into one side of the map. we're going to see here, Reynor's going to have to make a decision. Does he want to go for the top right corner or the bottom left corner? And we will see which side he chooses to go for.
Yeah, you can't put all your spore crawlers on both sides, right? You need an insane amount. I mean, sometimes you can get 2 or 3 fronts going of spores, but yeah, like you said, the Broodlords are so slow, it becomes difficult to defend. Normally one player ends up taking one side of the map, the other will take the other, and we get a kind of split map scenario.
Yeah.
Here is this Protoss army, so many changes, waddling across the map there. And Zoun looking to move on to creep, potentially, no, not yet.
Yeah, I think Reynor is almost at the point where he's ready to start looking for fights more aggressively here. And this kind of thing, he doesn't really want to fight. Ooh,
gets one.
Great feedback there from Zoun. Gets one Tempest though.
Gets one. One Tempest goes down.
Vipers lose all their energy, not able to abduct anything. And the Tempest going to work on this static defense of Reynor, getting a lot of value over time with their super long range attacks.
Yeah, so this is kind of situation where as a Zerg, you do want to eventually pounce on this, but you want to make sure you actually have the army you need to take the fight when you do it. So he's getting 2 more Broodlords, 2 more Corruptors, and I think pretty soon we're going to start to see him looking for a fungal with an Infestor most likely. In the meantime, you can also just give this up. It's only one hatchery. It's not the end of the world to lose it. And at this stage of the game, the army matters way more than the actual bases, because the army is just so expensive for both players here.
Okay, we have 4 more Corruptors on the way.
I feel like these games always come down to one big fight, and it's always about who can take the better engagement, use their spells better. It's so difficult on both sides. You have so many abilities.
Yeah, as you can see, it's just all about patience. Like, Reynor has to be so patient. Yes, he's losing side defense, he's losing bases, but he's not losing the game yet. Like, he's not losing his army. He has to be patient, wait for reinforcements, ultras are on the way. And as we get ready for the massive fungal to pounce.
Clear out some of the ground army, maybe force Zoun to make some immortals to deal with him eventually. He does have a couple in the mix there.
Yeah, and you can also just use them to pressure the other side of the map. If Zoun's army is on the right side, you can use the ultras to pressure on the left side, force him to either leave units or force him to rotate around, just to buy some time here.
God. The scariest thing about what's going on as well, look at the banks. Like, usually the Zerg player needs a bigger bank because they have a worse army, but no, the banks are actually quite similar. But that's also because Zoun has been so cost efficient here, denying base after base. His own bases have been left untouched as well. Zoun, he's looking quite informed here. I mean, he's been looking quite comfortable the entire game.
Well, Reynor's 6 going up here, so this may come down to just a war of attrition, you know, who runs out of minerals first. Zoun taking another Nexus here, I believe that's his 7th at this kind of forward position. He may use that as a launching pad. These Tempests, again, so much value, killing spore after spore here.
Yeah.
Oh, gets High Templar.
A little bit, gets a couple of Templars here. Nice neural on the Tempest as well. So
Is this Tempest?
Reynor just bleed out a couple of units, but not too bad at all.
Yeah, it all comes down to the efficiency here in the super late game. Who can preserve their units while picking off some of the others. I kind of like.
Now we're up to 15 Corruptors.
Base, that feels like maybe an easy one for him to get at some point. There is a DT there. Oh, so he did try and take it, but it was denied.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's difficult to deal with. You need no
nice fungals here.
Yeah, big fungal from Reynor looking to engage. The Broodlords get on top of some of these
nice neurals.
Zoun says no thank you and forced to recall out of there.
Yeah, makes the decision to recall right away, and that's the kind of thing where if you're going to recall as the Protoss, you have to do it right away. There's no point in waiting 10 seconds and just lose more units, and then you lose even more units as you're recalling out. So great snap decision there by Zoun.
I like this little double shield battery at the front. Just like, if I want to push, I'll do it here, and my units will heal their shields up a little bit. Reynor now adding in more Vipers, Ultras, getting the ultimate late game here. This is like the dream Zerg army, right? You couldn't make anything better than this. Yeah,
absolutely. So looking for this multi-prong attack there, very nice. He does want to clean this up. Like we mentioned before, Reynor doesn't really want to take any big fights near Proto-static. He wants to fight out on the map. So it's very important that he's using this side army to clear out these forward bases from Zoun, right? So there's no static fallback point for the Zoun army.
Yeah, and this little side army becomes so extremely efficient with the Microbial Shroud. Just saw like 100 lava at that base, by the way. Reynor is going to have an instant remax. And if we look at the banks, as the players do start to mine out these bases, Zoun actually has quite a good bank. Normally we see the Zerg with a bigger bank, but he's already got 10k, 7k in the bank, 11k, 7k for Reynor as well. Both these guys can afford to make their army maybe twice more, I would say, maybe 1.5 times, I'm not sure exactly. But they will both have a huge remax behind this.
Yeah, like you mentioned earlier, I would like to see Reynor start pushing a little bit into the bottom corner, because he is getting to the point where his first 3 bases are basically completely mined out at this point. And you do need to start moving over to the other side of the map, not to make sure that Zoun doesn't get to fortify too much of the map. You do want to be able to force the rotations out of the Zoun army, so you can actually get the chance to clear out some of these outer bases.
Yeah, we do see him take that hat tree now. That is nice. Meanwhile, he's going to push this base with quite a lot of Ultralists, actually. This will tear through the static defense.
Yeah, this is actually a big commitment here to the run by, to the counterattack.
Anything except Immortals or air units are not going to be able to deal with these Ultras. Going to work right now, picking up a lot of static defense that's quite expensive, getting a couple workers.
Oh, massive feedback! Oh my god!
Feedback is huge.
Yeah, massive feedback here. Still gets a couple of fungals off, so he will pay some price for that. But that's the kind of thing there where Reynor's actually going for the fight, picking up someone with the Tempest. But I think we'll have to see him back off here in just a little bit.
Yeah, Reynor, he has to retreat, he has to pull away.
All those overseers which are up there together, and he won't be able to see the units if he doesn't have detection here. The Broodlord starts to
yeah, he's gonna lose everything.
picking up a lot of
this was not the fight to take for Reynor. Reynor, he overextended, he lost all of his infestors, he got one fungal, but that did not call for a dive.
Great feedbacks from Zoun, and not having the infestor in here in the fight is so crucial. And then, like you mentioned, all the overseers dying, the mothership is raining.
Yeah, that's game.
And we'll see, Reynor tries to remax here, he always has the map bank to do it, but is Zoun gonna actually give him the time to get another army out like that? We'll have to wait and see.
Reynor in so much trouble right now, trying to remake his army. He's making 50 lings. That's not really what you want in the late game, it feels like. There are a ton of Stalkers here at the front, though. Gets a fungal.
Nice
these
fungal.
Three adrenal lings will go to town on these Stalkers. You can't really run away on creep. The Zerglings are just so fast.
I was like, nice fungal, but Zoun should be moving in. Jan actually pulled back with his army.
Ultras on the way. It feels like a good engagement for Zoun. But here comes the remax of Reynor.
Yeah, definitely like a very expensive army there that Reynor just lost. So even though he doesn't die here, the units lost, as you can see now, is now very much in favor of Zoun. And that's the kind of thing with this game. It's not like a ZvP where the Zerg has a lot more bases than the Terran. The economies are always going to be pretty even. So you actually need to keep trading kind of efficiently here in the late game as a Zerg player. So that fight puts Zoun in a really good position.
Yeah, the only bad thing for Zoun was that he did lose that one
Oh
base.
god, he gets another base.
Left side base, the kind of 9 o'clock one. But on the flip side, he just picked off one with DT, so that's also nice for him. And now both these guys trying to
an instant replay.
They're really expensive armies.
Yeah, this fight not being it for Reynor. Obviously fighting right next to the Protostatic here. There's a warp in point right there. It's really hard to win the fight if you're fighting this close to the Protoss bases. So amazing fight there from Zoun. And Reynor going into more of like Ultralisk based composition now. And it's definitely something that can work, but the Grand Army is quite big from Zoun.
Yeah, and if we just look at the banks once more as that fight concludes, 6.6k, both minerals and gas for Zoun. Reynor a little bit more mineral heavy, doesn't have quite as much gas, which is what it all comes down to with these expensive armies, right? You often have the minerals, but the gas is what really kind of limits how many of your tier 3 units you can make. This one Immortal seems lost.
Yeah. A little bit of a problem right now for Reynor is that he was worried about Zoun pushing after that last big fight, so he actually ended up remaxing on 9 Ultras. But now that the game is slowing down again, you kind of want that same army back where it's more Broodlords, more Corruptors, more Infestors.
Yeah, it was like a panic remax out of Reynor. What sort of is bringing up is the fact that there's only 2 Infestors. There's no Stochasters. There's 2 Infestors, 2 Vipers, a low Brutal count, a low Corruptor count.
Yeah, it would be nice if he could trade them out for some bases while the Protoss army is somewhere else. It does move quite slowly. Of course, you do have double recall available with the Nexus and the Mothership, so you always have that option as the Protoss, who's continuing to build up his Archon count, getting a couple more observers here.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll probably see Reynor just going to run away from this army, I would expect, and try to run over to the right side, but he's kind of trapping himself here a little bit.
Yeah, indeed. You don't want to lose these units for nothing. You'd like to trade them out, but they are
no!
expensive.
They got caught!
These Ultras are all going to get caught.
Oh my god.
Archons and Tempest. A couple of them go down. He comes back to this bottom left base.
And Zoun could just keep pushing bottom left.
Thing for Reynor, establishing this bottom left base, right? It keeps getting denied.
Yeah. He's not
The Infestors, no! Gets 2!
They're so important in the late game fights.
Reynor. You can see Reynor's running out of gas as well.
Looks like Reynor does find an angle to take out some static defense.
Yeah, this is a great scenario for Reynor. Now it's just a question, does he actually have enough to take this fight?
No, he doesn't have enough.
The fight to him.
Jesus.
Yeah, I only see one overseer in this army right now. Got to be very careful.
Tempest is just going to town. There's barely any Broodlords left. Down to 3 Broodlords.
The Bungles go down. There is so much splash damage on the screen, but it looks like Zoun will be coming out victorious.
Yeah, Zoun dominates the fight.
The consolation prize is for Reynor is he'll get 1 Nexus, but I don't think it's enough.
Yeah, he does up to remax on ultras here, and the plan is just to try to wipe the
Yeah,
ground army.
10 ultras on the way. Meanwhile, Zoun gets one base. He's just going to go for another. He's going to deny any kind of mining that Reynor has at the same time. Zelza hit the natural. War Prism into the main base. Everything's flashing red, and Zoun is going to make a series out of this. A very long, very passive game number 4 here is what I will say, as Zoun was able to comfortably rush into Skytoss this game, and Reynor just could not keep up. Could not keep up, could not recover.
At least the gas has been depleted. All these Zerg units so expensive. You need that
Reynor,
gas
he's
to
broke.
he's got a ton of lings and
He's out of
ultras,
gas.
but can't shoot up.
Yeah, so he can still win the ground fight, or maybe he can try to force some weird base creative scenario. But he's gonna need a lot of time to actually, make infestors, make corruptors.
Down
He
to
has
8
Vipers
drones.
already, but he
8
needs time
drones.
to get more economy back out.
See the chat, why no Nidus? Nidus worms are being denied. If you remember, Reynor, he was trying to Nidus into the main base. He was using Nidus worms.
One base right there.
Yeah.
But
I
it's
should
the
say he was
bottom
trying to
left
use
location
Nidus worms,
he's
but they were being
forgetting
denied.
He wants to get some real mining. 1 DT here does confirm those hatcheries going up. Sound says, okay, you're trying to expand that spike Q to put the pressure back on.
So we saw them
Take
attempted.
out this hatchery, a
See
bunch
them.
of creep here, even the queen. And Reynor's down to 5 workers right now.
Yeah, taking the fight here, probably going to be the last fight of the game. This is the kind of fight where he might win the ground fight, but then there's the rematch.
There we go, they mass around with ultras.
Amazing
The
stuff.
ultras
Get
can win the ground
all of the
fight.
ground army, all of the ground army, most of the air units. The problem is just there's just no money left in the bank for
GG.
Reynor.
GG is called. Zoun takes map number 4 with a very excellent late game army composition, and we are all tied up here in the series 2-2.
Yeah, definitely just taking very slow there, right? Just going straight into the fleet beacon, just getting the army he wants to get from the start, and just very slowly taking one base at a time, being very active, or not super active with his army, but very positional with his army, getting some value.
Yeah, winding it back, for those that maybe missed out in the beginning of the game, what happened this game, Zoun, if you remember, he rushed into Skytoss. He was able to rush into a fast fleet beacon, into fast Tempest production very, very quickly before any kind of splash damage, before Storm. It was as it was getting his 3rd base, if you recall, or after his 3rd, he rushed into the fleet beacon. Meanwhile, what was Reynor doing? Reynor was going for a very lair tech composition. He was going into, if you remember, he actually had a late lair. He had a late lair, late Hydras, late Infestation bit, late Hive Tech. Everything was delayed for Reynor. So by the time Reynor got into Lurkers, Zoun already had Skytoss, which is why Reynor couldn't find any damage. He couldn't find any damage. We also spoke earlier about how Winter Madness is one of the more defensive maps in the map pool. It is easier to turtle up on 5+ bases on this map, so Zoun was able to comfortably get up to 5 bases, comfortably defend, deflect, and gain map control, and just slowly whittle away at Reynor. It was a bit of a slower, more methodical approach there by Zoun. I do think that there were opportunities earlier where he could have just A-moved, he could have just been more aggressive, but Zoun was playing it safe, slow and steady. GG, well played. With that, Zoun ties it up, and now we're going to game 5. For now, we're going to be coming to a break. When we come back, we'll have game 6. Remember, best of 7. We'll see you soon. I see in the chat, is this replay? No. Live cast. So we're going to be cutting to a 3-minute break. When we come back, we'll have the next game. We'll see you soon after the break. And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Whew. Boy, hope you enjoyed the lovely Brutal OST as we returned. We returned here. We are mid-series in this best of 7. Again, this is a live event happening over in Seoul, in South Korea, near Gangnam, of course, and we're in the bronze match. The winner of this series will take that 3rd place. We still have much love to In Control, much love. But we do have the grand finals after this, which will be a best of 7 between Hero and Classic. For now, though, we're jumping to game number 5.
And in the bottom right, the blue Zerg player, Reynor.
Here we go, and based off of the last game, based off of game 4, once again we expect to see Reynor try to avoid the late game in PvZ, try to avoid that kind of situation, that kind of scenario. Welcome to Botanical. That's the problem though. Botanical is a massive map in the map pool. This map favors turtle heavy play. It is easier to defend on 5 bases here on Botanical, so I'm a little bit concerned for Reynor. Now, how did Reynor approach this map last time against Classic? Reynor, he went for a lurker rush. If you remember, Reynor, he was very greedy. He rushed into Hydras, into Lair Tech, into Hydras, into Gases, into Lurkers, and he went for a very strong lurker timing, and he was able to kill Classic before the late game. That was the one game that Reynor won on Botanical. Now, of course, Zoun was watching. Zoun, he was aware of what was going on. So I'm sure Zoun is mentally prepared for that. But I do like the idea of Reynor trying to go for that early timing to kill Zoun before the late game. We'll see if he can pull it off.
Not early enough to block the hatchery though this game.
Yeah, not early enough, but still going to be annoying here in the middle line. And for some drones of mining and just losing a few minerals for Reynor. But yeah, on this map, you can definitely expect some of the more standard play. But again, Reynor, looking at last game, he might want to take it a bit more aggressive, or maybe he looks at the game like, actually no, I was fine. I just needed to take the fights a little bit better, and I would have been completely fine. That's also another option for him.
Yeah, I kind of liked his choice of builds in the first couple games where he was aggressive and he took it to Zoun. It looks like he's going to be, like, we haven't seen him go for quick storm yet, right? He's often going into quick air units, which can be punishable with some timings. So Reynor may be thinking about that as we do go into game number 5. And this feels like such an important game, right?
Yeah.
Because if you go up this game now, you kind of have a free game that you can throw away with an all-in or something. Or you just need the one more to close out the series. So this game is very pivotal for both these players.
Yeah, I think like the build that Reynor did on Mothership, where he just goes with massive hydrogen main timing, would be great versus all the other Sound builds. But he might be a bit hesitant to bring it out again, because what if Sound does go back to the Colossus Stalker play, right? It's the thing where it can still work, but your timing window is way shorter versus something like Colossus Opener compared to a double Stargate follow-up.
Yeah, indeed. We're kind of getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, as
Yeah.
right now the Stargate is on the way.
Yeah.
Third base goes down for the Zerg. He's getting his Zerglin speed. He did take drones out of gas, so he's not going to be too aggressive here in the very early game.
Yeah, what they're getting at: standard opener, Stargate opener out of Zoun, third base out of Reynor. Everything's looking normal so far. We're keeping eyes open for the Twilight Comes timing from Zoun. Likewise, keeping eyes open on the tech of choice from Reynor.
Oh.
Good microphone Reynor.
Attack gets in.
Oh, this is the second one.
One drone goes down. More drones pulled here. He loses a second one. This is just one adept. It shouldn't be getting this much damage. Okay, finally it goes down.
Two drones.
The 2 drones go down. A Spore Caller trick was forced. And you lost a little bit of mining time there. That is a big success for Zoun.
Yeah, better start for Zoun.
Success, I would say. Like getting 2 drones there, and also, like you mentioned, forcing the idle time on the
For one adept.
That's a massive, massive damage that you don't really expect to get from a single adept like this.
And look at the income advantage already up in the 300-400.
Imagine them having anything but Protoss in top 3. True.
So
Smooch.
opportunity to go for some more drone kills. Sending it instantly across the map. So normally we've actually seen him keep them at home a lot, respecting Reynor's ability to pressure that third base with Zerglings. But this game he's feeling a little bit more confident after that early start. Going to fly this first across Oracle straight in. There will be Queens here though to greet it.
Yeah, and Spore's already up. Might lose a drone or 2 here, but that's kind of okay. And the fact that he did choose to send his Oracle straight across the map does mean that his third is slightly delayed. It is a few seconds late. Reynor not being able to find the probe on the way out though, so he will get it down at a decent timing at least.
Yeah, I like that Reynor has a creep tumor in the main here as well. It's like quite a big main base, it feels like. Having being able to run your queens around it quickly to zone out the oracles feels very nice.
Absolutely.
I feel like sometimes the Zerg skip the tumor in the main, like...
Yeah, there's so many directions you want to creep at. You kind of have to pick and choose in some situations, but yeah, definitely in a situation like this, having that creep tumor there, and you can eventually send it down to the low ground from the main base, right? So definitely not a bad choice at all. See the fast Evo chamber coming in from Reynor into the standard Twilight Forge from Zoun.
Yeah, so he's going for that quick Evo chamber that lets you get +1 melee. This normally leads into, you know, a Hydra build where you go with a Zerglings.
Yeah, so really safe play out of Reynor going for the Roach Warren. The Roach Warren is typically not necessary here, but getting it means that he's safe against an early charge timing, for example. Zoun, his own tech is standard. Standard timing for Zoun, Reynor playing safe.
Everything looking quite standard right now.
Yeah, everything looking super standard. Raynor, most likely, like you mentioned, he's going to make some links, and we'll see what the tech choice is here from Zoun. It's going to be the blink, and that's kind of what you're hoping for when you're going for the +1 melee like this. So it'd be a good position for you to just hold on to any Stalker pressure. The links are very efficient at fighting the Stalkers, and they can also threaten counterattacks that the Stalkers have to go home and deal with. So great start here for Reynor, I would say, other than the messy early adept defense.
Yeah, he actually put a stasis ward on Reynor's 4th base, which caught the drone trying to make it there. So that's actually going to delay this 4th base for Reynor by quite a lot, as that drone will have to be free from its paralysis, able to make that base. A couple more drones go down for Reynor, but he is getting his lair on the way. +1 will be finishing soon. Oh, it would be very nice if he's able to catch these zealots. Gets the adept, catches 2 of them there with the surround. This one will just shade out, and the Stalkers will be coming to its aid.
Nice pick up.
Oh, it goes down anyway.
Yeah, that was a slow Stalker warping, so it was a little bit sketchy there for a little bit, because that pylon is not in range of the gateway there. But yeah, seeing this extra Stalkers warping in is already great for Reynor because he knows there's no adept follow-up.
He's going for the all-in. Let's go. Reynor, he's going for Overlord speed, building up queens, lings, roaches, and he will commit.
On Mothership, whereas if Zoun opts to pressure one of the bases, he can go to the other one. But Zoun, like we saw on Mothership, is going into that.
Now, I like the idea of going for an all-in here because, I mean, Reynor ideally wants to try to end it early. We'll see if it works on Botanical, though. Again, this map is more defensive, and we'll see if Zoun can scout. Does he confirm?
These oracles flying around the bases of Reynor, trying to scout exactly what he's doing. Is there an infestation pit? Are you looking to go hive? Reynor's actually making a lot of units right now.
He's all in. The cast is just now realizing.
He's going to be getting very aggressive here as we do see some overlords upgrading into drop overlords as well.
Yeah, bringing the queens here, look at the timing, and he's going to be able to hit before any Colossus is out. So this is looking very promising for Reynor.
True.
There is not going to be any banings here, I believe.
So Zoun, he scouted the all-in. He's got 5 shield batteries on the way, 3 cannons on the way, and a Colossus. Zoun, can he buy enough time for the Colossus? If so, then he can survive and take the game. It's all or nothing. It all comes down to this all-in.
Damage Reynor can get done. He's moving towards the natural. It looks like he's going to be trying to fight in this space between the natural and the third. The force fields go down, but they kind of keep the Protoss army out more than the Zerg army. Yeah. Reynor moves to the natural. Good bios on that static defense. The queens are here. Transfuses go down. He's going to be spreading creep, trying to bust through this natural door.
Yeah, this Colossus coming out is going to be very crucial to hold off all of these lings.
Yeah, the Colossus will arrive on the lings.
And the position between the bases is very awkward here for Zoun. So far, he's doing a great hold position with the Oracles killing at all lings, and the first Colossus is here.
Yeah, the Oracles go down.
Starting to fall at the natural for Zoun.
Lings are falling.
Back to the third base. We have
nice drop into the main.
Drop here in the main as well. Reynor fighting on 2 fronts right now, and he's actually going back into drones and infestation pit. I'm not sure if he feels like he's done enough damage, or just that he can't kill Zoun here.
Yeah, the all-in has failed.
Yeah, the Colossus coming out kind of means that since there's no banelings or anything like that, it doesn't really have any way to actually bust through with only links. So making the choice to go back, not ideal for Reynor, I would say, but I would also say he's kind of in a playable position. It's not like the previous game versus Colossus where he didn't have access to Ravagers, something to deal with force fields. So the counter attack here will be a little bit less scary. Obviously, his economy is a lot worse than it was then, so he'll have a hard time to match the army count of Zoun.
Yeah, as sort of said, it's playable, but I mean, I would still say that Zoun is ahead. Zoun is ahead. Zoun, he survived the aggression, he survived the all-in. He's got, what, 2 Colossus at this point, building up more of a Stalker-based army, and Reynor has some catching up to do. He has a lot of taking to do. As it's going to be a window in time where we have, what, 3-4 Colossus before there are Lurkers.
Reynor is going into Raveling Bane, so if Zoun opts to pull the trigger here, he will have a timing. But if Reynor has enough time to get up a decent number of banelings and baneling speed finishes, he can definitely win a fight here.
Yeah, he doesn't have roach speed or baneling speed right now, so Zoun definitely has a big window to be counter-aggressive. 1 Stalker falls there, the rest will blink away. I love that Reynor's sending these lings out to counter-attack, try and buy himself some time here. As he is on 75 workers now on 5 bases, he has a good mid-game economy. He just needs to not die in the near future.
Yeah, so that baneling speed is crucial here. So that's probably something he's looking to buy time for, right? It's these ling run buys, he's trying to force Zoun back home, give me some more time to get this upgrade out. And if it does finishes, obviously the army supply is not looking amazing for Reynor, but it does have a fighting chance here.
Extended Thermal Lance is finishing here. That may be Zoun's cue to send it. We see a little Zergling drop in the main. Zoun will have to deal with that. More Zerglings at the natural as well. 1 base for Reynor already going down. He's going to look to try and engage as Zoun comes down this ramp, it looks like.
Yeah, very hard place to fight in though. They're so choked up with the ramp. And also coming in from the other side, it's also very choked up with the ramp. So it's really hard for Reynor to find a good open area to fight in here. But he might not have much of a choice.
Yeah, a lot of force fields available for Zoun, but it looks like he wasn't quite looking for a moment there. A few units going down. The Ravagers will bio down those force fields. And it's scary. I mean, it's scary for both sides. If Zoun comes down this ramp, he can be flanked from both sides here. Yep. But Reynor also can't really go up the ramp and attack into the Protoss army.
Yeah, Zoun's timing is right here and right now. When this Vipers comes out with energy, it's completely done this push. And there's no Templar Archives behind it. There's no more upgrades coming in, so he's really going for the fight now.
Yeah, the Vipers trying to get energy for up Ducks, but Zoun pulls the trigger. Banelings moving in from the back. They get some good connections on this sentry ball. Stalkers starting to fall. Reynor trying to hold on as best he can. These Colossus on the high ground dealing so much damage. 4
Colossus, extra warp in. Zoun, he's breaking through. Here come the Ducklings.
No, the Stalkers zone them out there.
Never mind.
Yeah, Reynor just needs to buy more time here. Just get more units out. Try to get this Colossus.
The Vipers!
So
Oh my
cool.
god.
I cannot lose those Vipers.
Jesus.
Cannot lose them.
Gets one.
Colossus.
Oh, the pickup!
Saved by the War Prism. Sick anticipation.
Oh my
there,
god,
but
he baits out another
by Zoun, He's going
abduction.
to be able to save these Colossus, and this is getting so scary.
Did you see that? He baited the abduction. 2 abductions, no damage. He does get 1 Colossus finally. Not even. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't even go down.
Yeah, the Colossus are just going crazy. The drone's getting cold and just melting to these armies.
Beautiful blink forward there. Every time he abducts the Colossus, the Stalkers blink over with it, do their best to protect it. The Vipers go down, and with that, Reynor's chance in this game, Zoun goes up 3-2.
Yeah, definitely a very nice hold there on the Ravager Ling attack. And then the counterattack in Reynor had the correct composition this time compared to the Mothership game. But obviously when you have that failed all in, your drone count is not what it needs to be, you don't have the same bank. Because ideally there after the fight, you're able to like almost immediately remax as the Zerg, right? So you can just be ready to take the next fight as soon as your unit pops. But there wasn't really much of a bank at all there for Reynor. So after that first fight didn't go his way, it's really hard to actually get your army together to fight.
This is why I was pushing back against what sort of said after the failed all in, where sort of is like, oh, this is playable. It's like, I guess, but like Reynor was far behind. He was far behind after the failed all in. That's why Zoun's push hit as hard as it did. Reynor had opportunities, of course, with the Vipers, with the abductions, but Zoun, his counter micro, of course, saving the Colossus. We saw it here. He saved the first Colossus the first time, then here he, bam, saves it again, just as the abduction goes off. Very crisp control there by Zoun. Crazy.
And then the third abduct, he blinks all the Stalkers forward with his Colossus, so it's difficult to target it down for Reynor.
Yeah, because when you adopt a unit like this, you want to target fire it down, obviously, but then if the Stalkers are there as well, you're not attacking the Stalkers if you're target firing the Colossus, so the Stalkers all just get full attack value, right? In a situation like that. Obviously, at this point, the numbers were heavily in Zoun's favor, but very nice execution either way.
Yeah, I mean, if this game goes a little bit longer and we see 3-4 Vipers come out, it gets a lot more difficult there for Zoun. So he hit his timing very sharp. We are going to be moving on to Persephone here for... What game are we on now?
Game number 6.
Game number 6.
Yeah, game 6.
Yeah, Zoun now on
Persephone, which does favor Protoss here. Persephone and, was it Tokamak for the final game? Like, those are brutal maps. Those Let's go.
Zoun.
And in the top left, the blue Zerg player, Reynor.
It is Reynor's last chance to stay in this tournament, guys. Lend him your energy if you're a fan. We need to see him take this map if we want to get a game number 7 and this series go the distance. Now's the time to bring out your best build. You know, whatever you think has the best chance to work. We are on Persephone, which is a very kind of standard map, apart from the somewhat short air distance between the main bases.
Yeah, I would say traditionally Zergs kind of like to play on this map versus Protoss for the most part. We have seen Classic pull out the War Prism Chargelet Archon build. That's the War Prism get across the map very, very quickly, right, due to the main base locations. But it could also be Zoun. I'm not sure if that's something he'll be likely to put out. Maybe he'll pull out something weird, but I more likely expect him to go into the same we've seen so far.
Man, StarCraft fans eating well today. What an amazing series we have on our hands. These guys.
Yeah, just I guess echoing what they're getting at. Persephone, there's a reason why we did mention that this is more of a Protoss map. Persephone, it is easy to cut the map in half and to establish yourself on 4 and 5 bases. And we have seen that Zoun has preferred that kind of style, getting into that sky toss and embracing that death blow of an army. It is going to be difficult for Reynor to try to stop that and slow it down. So Reynor has to make a choice here. Does he go for an all-in, like we saw last game? You know, attempted all-in on a Botanical makes sense. Botanical also favors turtle-heavy play. I think I would say that about all 3 remaining maps, is that it favors turtle-heavy play. So that's why last game Reynor went for the all-in. So here, he could go for another all-in. We could see Reynor try to be greedy and beat Zoun to the late game and get there first. We saw that previously in the series. We could try to see that again from Reynor. So either go for the all-in, be hyper greedy, or maybe do something else that's quirky, like going into mutas, unscouted, and going into Spire attack. There's some other avenues of attack, but there's a lot of pressure on Reynor here.
Which I feel like he excels at. What would you think Reynor's, if you had to pick, I know you can't know, but if you were to guess, what do you think Reynor's thinking here as we go into this game?
I'm probably thinking that you don't really want to go to another late game here. Maybe in game 7 if you get there, but for this game I don't think you want to have a long dried out game 6 and then you have to go into game 7 as well afterwards. You just want to try to do some sort of mid game or like semi early late game focused here. So I would probably go for something like lurkers and then try to play it very aggressively. Try to end it on like a single Evo chamber.
Yep.
That kind of style would be most likely coming out here. But also depends really on what Zoun does, right? Zoun can definitely throw something that will make the game weird.
Yeah, for sure. We do see this.
So sort of he was saying something similar where we discussed the early lurker push, right? The fast lurker tech is that fast lurker timing. Hey, it's how he was able to take that one game off of Classic. So he could do it here.
Very far forward. The second adept joins up now, and this is the moment where he might decide to commit to a shade. Depending on how many Zerglings he sees, they are waiting for these adepts on the ramp.
Yeah, he just cancels nice and safe. Just happy with seeing the units, and got the Oracle coming in behind as well. I believe we see a third adept moving out as well on the map. Actually.
Turtle heavy play, but neither Zerg nor Protoss can build the turtle units. Oh no, that's actually not true.
Yeah, turning around here, he does have oracles on the way. We'll be able to join those up with the adepts, trying to get some economic harassment done.
Make the turtles
down
back
here for Reynor as well, so he is prepared for this. He's got his queens together. No creep to him in the main this game,
yeah.
But the oracles will see those queens and turn back around. Oh, sorry, Reynor. There it is. Goes down on the ramp.
Yeah, the nice thing about keeping these two adepts out of the map for that long is that he knew exactly where the Zerglings were the entire time, right? He was able to see them every time with the shade, and for that reason he knows that the Oracle is safe to fly straight across the map. Doesn't have to stay at home to defend the third base going up, as we can see as it is right now.
Yeah, we do see this rather standard kind of quick nexus here for Zoun going down at the third base. He's taken 2 more gases. A shield battery just to stay safe here. These oracles haven't got anything done yet so far. No, not really any drones falling. So I think Reynor will be very pleased with how this early game has gone so far.
Yeah, it looks very good so far, especially compared to the previous game with already the first adept kind of got out of control, and then we had some follow-up kills by the Oracle. So Reynor should definitely be happy here. We do see a fast lair, fast roach warren, no +1 Evo this time.
Where's the forge?
Yeah, no upgrade on the way. Ooh, that Oracle just getting away. Okay, he does get 2
So
drones.
interesting. As they're bringing up here, no +1 melee, no fast Evo chamber, but we have a fast Twilight Council out of Zoun. They're going for a delayed forge. This will be Blink, but this is early Blink timing out of Zoun.
Twilight, 2 more gateways. This looks like the builds we've seen previously out of Zoun. Looks like this is how he feels the best way to close out this series is.
Yeah, slightly faster Twilight Council, but still goes into the Blink. Just
Yep.
forge a little bit
Fast Blink.
So it's very similar to before. We see 3
This should be to break the fourth.
Might look to put on some pressure, or maybe he'll add on a couple more gases as well. We'll see. Another gateway coming in actually leads me to believe that it will likely be something like a 6-gate pressure here for coming out of Zoun.
Yeah, indeed. He's going to be able to move.
Once again, to emphasize, the goal here for this aggression that Zoun is getting into with Fast Blink is to deny the fourth, is to break the fourth base of Reynor.
We'll see him move across the map, and it's all going to be out Reynor's defense.
He finds it.
He's already up to 68 workers. Sometimes it feels like you want to be around the 60 to 66 mark to deal with this. If you make too many, you don't have quite as many units.
Yeah. I would say Zoun has been really good about his reads this game in terms of what he goes for in the mid game with these Blink Stalker openings. Like in the first game was the only game he really got into trouble by going out on the map and getting caught by the Hydra Link.
Yeah.
But that was after like a weird queen walk kind of happened. In most of these games he's had a good read. In the previous game when there was melee happening, he didn't do any pressure, he just kind of stayed home. And in this game when there's like roach opening, or into Hydras in this case, but there's no +1 melee, seems like he's committing a little bit more. And as I say that, he is getting 2 more gases.
Yeah.
So maybe he won't go across the map.
Yeah, I thought this was looking like he might be.
So we the casters assumed as well. We assumed that Zoun was going to go for an earlier push. Because he isn't, that means that Reynor is getting away with fast lurkers. Man, we spoke about this. We spoke about what we wanted to see out of Reynor, both ourselves and sort of, and one of them was to rush into lurkers and to try to beat him with a lurker timing. That's what's happening here. Would you have the infestation bit into Hive into lurker tech?
As well as a Stargate here.
Yeah, it could also be this thing with the extra gateways. You just have the gateways in case Reynor does something like he did in previous game with the Ling Ravager attack. You have a bunch of gateways you can warp in StarCraft if you need to. And immediately
So right now I do prefer Reynor's position, because Reynor should hit first with lurkers before there's too much sky toss.
Lurkers, most likely.
Yes, Reynor's actually made a lot of units, and Zoun's Stalkers are out on the map. They do have that stasis ward to fall back to if the Zerg army tries to catch them. Ooh, some
Nice
adepts
around.
going down in the middle of the map. That's very nice for Reynor. So active with his Zerglings.
Yeah, one big thing here is like he built the Stargate and the Fleet Beacon right after the Overseer went through, so Reynor won't really know right away. Ooh, massive stasis here. Won't really affect too much as there's not much else happening. He might be able to catch the Stalkers. Oh, nice recall. So yeah, this timing is actually kind of scary for Zoun, because if Reynor was just going into lurkers and going into 90 drones, the Tempest would be great. But now Reynor is actually just making more Hydras and coming across the map here. And the Tempests are not going to be super useful in a scenario like this.
Yeah, they do a lot of damage, but they shoot very slowly. So if you waste those shots on Zerglings, overkilling them, the DPS feels somewhat wasted. He is going to lurk at them behind this. Just now adding the drones on. So I feel like he wanted to be a little bit more safe in the mid game. Not sure exactly what Zoun was up to. We see him scouting here with the Overseer and these changelings. Oh, the changelings will actually, taken out by the probes.
Yeah. I would say Zoun has been really good about just making it hard for Reynor to know what's going on. Doing different build paths every game, and every kind of path he's taking requires a very strong reaction from the Zerg player. And Reynor has not been able to quite figure out exactly what's going on to hit the correct timings at the correct moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do see
like again, we were emphasizing like maybe Reynor being able to hit this early timing before Zoun gets into Skytoss, but the Tempests have arrived, and the timing, it's not really here. I mean, it feels like the timing is closing. The longer this goes on, the better it's going to be for Zoun. Lurker range is on the way. Reynor does have a larger army. Reynor's maxed out, but he has to do something with this army. He has to deny the base. He has to break an expansion. We'll see what he does with this.
Hydroling until the Skytoss army gets to a certain critical mass, right? You can kind of distract them, hit multiple locations.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely a case like this, it's a little bit scary for Zoun because there still is no storm. It's just the Stalkers and the Tempests.
True.
And Reynor's standing army is actually quite
like
hard
Reynor
to
can kill. He has to. He needs to.
How strong his army actually is.
Here he comes.
Looks like he's actually gearing up for this fight, and I think it's going to be quite hard for Zoun to hold on.
Yeah, Reynor attacking in 2 locations at once. The 4th instantly cancelled by Zoun. He realizes he can't hold this as this massive Ling Hydra army storms in here to the 3rd base.
Yeah, Lurker's moving in. Without Colossus, without Storm, how do you hold on?
The Tempest
He's going for it.
as they can, but there's so many Hydras here. They fall back to the shield batteries at the 3rd base. Zoun trying to hold on as much as he can. Reynor's maxed out, reinforcing this instantly with his bank. And the Stalkers are starting to fall. These Tempests, if they go down, it could be the end here for Zoun. Stalkers falling one by one. Is Zoun able to hold on here? So many probes starting to fall.
Yeah, already a really great trade for Reynor because it's 17 Hydras within production. So even if Zoun somehow managed to actually stabilize here, there's going to be another wave coming, and we still don't have any storm anywhere near completing. The only thing he has going for himself here is a mothership.
Yeah, there's no storm. No storm on the way.
There's multiple more Hydras coming on. He's going to hold his 3rd base for now, but the 2nd wave is going to be
just now begins. 10-minute storm. Jesus.
Cancelled by Reynor. 14 probes going down. Zoun now down to just 60. This 2nd wave, as Reynor maxes out, will hit even harder than the 1st wave. The one thing he has going for him, Zoun, is that he has a lot of Tempest now with the mothership. They can go forwards, start to pick off what they can. They get a Lurker for free almost. The Overseers scout these cloaked units, but if those Overseers go down, that could be trouble. Reynor pouring in now. So much Zerg in the 3rd base. These Lings going to run wild on the mineral line. Zoun's economy taking a massive hit here.
Yeah, he's holding on as best as he can, but there's obviously just so much Reynor here, right? And losing this 3rd base is basically a killing blow, where sure, he might be able to survive and keep his army alive, because there's only a few more Hydras left. But what are you really going to do with a 5-base Zerg on as a 2-base Protoss?
Yeah, this was an absolute success here by Reynor, able to kill the 4th base, then the 3rd base, a bunch of probes, and now he says, okay, the only thing you have going for you is these scary air units, so let me go into a Spire, but never mind that, he doesn't even need the Spire, he says, gonna run in here with the Hydra Ling, try to pick off this mothership, such an expensive unit goes down, and GG, Reynor ties us up 3-3 in the series.
We're going to the ace match.
Game number 7. And it's gonna be
but GG, well played. And again, Reynor, we were expecting to see that Lurker timing, and he went for it. He went for the early Lurker timing. Now, I was concerned that he was too late, that the Skytoss was building up, and that he wouldn't be able to strike before we hit critical mass. But, as was pointed out, there was no splash damage. Storm was heavily delayed, so without Storm, there was no defense. With that, GG, well played. Reynor, he does a breakthrough, he does overwhelm, he does pull it off, and now we're going all the way to the ace match. The best outcome here, we're going all the way to Game 7. I believe Game 7 is going to be on Tokamak? Question mark? We'll have to double check. Yes, Tokamak is going to be Game 7. So I did mention this, that the final 3 games are going to be favoring Zoun. Botanical into Persephone into Tokamak. All 3 of these games are easier to turtle up and get into Skytoss on, so we should be expecting that. We saw a success from Zoun on Botanical. We saw Zoun barely fail to get there on Persephone, and now coming into Tokamak, we do expect to see Reynor go for another timing attack or another all-in. Whether he's going to be rushing into Lurkers like we just saw, I don't like the idea of doing the same build 2 games in a row, but that is an option. Otherwise, we could see like an early all-in, an early, I should say. Oh, the Classic is coaching him. Classic, he's there. He's there for his boy. But yeah, coming into Tokamak here, I believe that Zoun's goal should be to just settle into a more slower game to get into Sky Toss. It is going to be instead on Reynor to try to end things early. Oh boy.
If he does something like this in this game, he can try to hit the same timing. So I think Reynor will probably most likely go to somewhat similar to his own game number 6.
Yeah, we see a beautiful shot.
It sort of is assuming that we might see another lurker timing at a Reynor. I mean, it makes sense. I just personally, I feel like there's a higher chance that we're going to be seeing earlier Storm this time out of Zoun to be safe against that kind of build.
He loved his Colossus. I would not be surprised to see him go for one of those two builds. The last map of the series is going to be Tokamak, a very standard map here for the last time in the offline finals, guys. Give it up for our red Protoss, Zoun.
And in the bottom left, we have the blue Zerg player from Basilisk. It is Reynor.
It's Reynor.
Dude, I had this thing during the normal RSL seasons where I couldn't say Tokamak. I just kept saying it wrong. I like this mental block, and once again it comes out here in game number 7. What a series!
I mean, he's still saying it wrong.
We've seen
There's only one O in Tokamak.
We've seen mid-game time-ins.
There isn't a second O.
It's
fine.
These guys. I don't feel like Reynor wants to go back to that, considering how it went.
At least not from like a position like that where they both just kind of power up and then goes for the late game. Like both of them just like going straight there, right? I think if he's going to go into the late game, he would prefer to do it from a position where he has some sort of advantage in the mid game leading into it. So you have this like bigger bank where you have a traded efficiently going into the late game, so you have some sort of buffer.
Yeah, it seems like Reynor's done really well with these Hydralisk time-ins against Zoun because he often goes for the quick air units or even able to hit them before the Colossus come out, which obviously are really good against Hydras and Lings with that light tag. Right now, though, we're just starting to build up here. We got a Nexus on the way. Hatch gas pull for Reynor. Wasn't blocked at the natural, so can take his base there. And yeah, it's all about the tech that we see come out in the near future.
Yeah, it's a really cool play from Zoun where like he has this like opener where he does pretty much the same opener every game, but then he kind of reactively decides where he's going to do it. It feels like if he sees an early Evo chamber, he's more likely to go into something like Colossus. If he doesn't see the early Evo chamber, he's been leaning more into these fast Tempest builds when he sees the Infestation Pit and the Hydroden. So we'll see what it ends up doing this game. Reynor might try to do something tricky, like throwing an Aspire in there. Could definitely mix things up like that.
True.
But at this game number 7, I would suspect most likely we're just going to see him go for something similar to last game.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
Yeah, we're kind of like repeating here, but like I guess on that, I do think that the best chance that Reynor has is either going to Aspire, going to Mutas, or going for another lurker timing. If he tries to play standard, like no shot, based on what we've seen so far today, that is where Zoun is going to be favored. So we'll see. The pressure it feels like it's very much so on Reynor. I guess Zoun could try to mix things up. I don't think he needs to though. I'll be honest. I don't think he needs too much flair to his play. I think just playing safe, standard, building up, and getting to Skytos is kind of the way to go for Zoun at least.
But there's also counter timings from the Zerg player. And like you mentioned, a lot of this comes down to, do you get successful harass off as the Protoss? Do you manage to get your third up without any delay from the Zerglings and so on? Like these things matter a lot as they snowball into the later game. And yeah, so far, everything looking very standard. First adept coming in here, 4 Lings ready from Reynor. I don't think we'll see the straight finish. It does get cancelled.
Yeah, that would be a very risky one. This adept trying to do what it can. Already lost a decent amount of shields. I don't think that would do anything except wait for its buddy to come across the map. If he... Oh, we actually don't see a second adept coming here right now. It's going to be stuck in the wall, making sure there's no Zerglings running in there, as we see the Oracles coming out here for Zoun.
Yeah, just playing it nice and safe this time, keeping the second adept at home. Doesn't want to let any sneaky Lings in to see what's going on. And Zoun most likely just going to secure his third here. We can see he's kind of keeping the Oracle home a little bit, respecting the fact that there could be Lings out of the map. We've seen in the games where he does still have his adepts out on the map, he will send the Oracle straight across because he knows where the Lings are, right? In this situation, he doesn't really know where the Lings are, opts to keep the Oracle at home, and secures the third.
Yeah, Reynor does see it exactly as it goes down though, so he knows this is an early third base before 4 minutes. That already gives you a lot of information. You can't be all in if you're also taking this third this early. So good scout there by Reynor, gets confirmation of that. And he didn't make too many Zerglings here. If you make a lot of Zerglings, you kind of have to try and delay the third, but he only made a couple, so he's able to get his drone count up as fast as he can. He will overtake Zoun in the 40s, which is kind of normal, I would say, in this matchup.
Yeah, Sound warping a couple more depths here. Most likely going to be going for his 4 depth 2 Oracle pressure that he's been going for in most of his games here. In the meantime, getting a battery on the 3rd, just securing that up. He might wait for this battery to finish before he moves out, or he might not. We'll have to wait and see. But at the same time...
Standard follow-up. We have Twilight Counts from the Forge. Meanwhile, Reynor going for the safety. Roach Warren. No fast Evo Chamber. So Reynor's not playing Standard. He's not going Evo Chamber +1 melee into Ling Hydra. He's going safety Roaches into a later Evo Chamber, most likely into Hydras, into Lurkers. So far, this is the same build we saw last game at Reynor.
I like this Stasis Sword at the 4th base of Reynor by Zoun. Last game we saw the Colossus push game.
Baits it out.
The drone actually set that off. This time it's a Ling. That's very nice for Reynor.
Yeah, also very nice from Reynor. He actually went around and came in from the other side. Because sometimes if you send the Zergling straight in, that Zergling is stasis on top of the place where you want to build a hatchery. So very nice play there from Reynor.
Oh, that's actually so smart. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
very
oh my god.
Gets one drone here. It's a little bit annoying. It's going to delay the 4th hatch a little bit. And that is something you really care about. In this case, it's not going into...
Upgrades are late for Zoun.
Less larva start.
Late 4, sorry, late +1 and late blink.
Seeing the Hydra then, maybe a Spire, but the most likely it's going to be some sort of Hydra-based play into Lurker would be my guess here, looking at this.
Yeah, I feel like this is a good muta map. You have that airspace behind the 3rd and the main base of the Protoss.
And so far, same build as last game.
Going down, like you
Roach
said,
into Hydra into Lurker. We're expecting Lurkers.
Reynor said he feels like this is a very dependable unit choice in this matchup. Or basically always gets you into a decent position in the mid game.
Yeah, we have seen players like Shin also favor like Roach Hydra timings as well a lot in this matchup, and we do see Reynor making some amount of Roaches. There is still no Roach speed though, so I'm actually not very confident in that happening. Some pressure coming in from Zoun. Blink is still quite far away, so I don't suspect we'll see him commit very hard. More so just like move out to just force some units, make sure Reynor doesn't get the drone up.
There's infestation bits. Again, we spoke about it. He's rushing into Lurkers. Same build, 2 games in a row.
Slowing down that Zerg economy. Infestation pit is
Same
on the
build.
way now, so it's likely going to be...
Ooh, and this time, Zoun is not rushing into Skytoss, he's going into Colossus. So Zoun is going to be better prepared. This is why I wasn't fond of the idea of doing the same build 2 games in a row.
And second Robo going down for Zoun.
Yeah, I think maybe Zoun got a little bit tripped out here by seeing so many Zerglings. So he's actually going into this Colossus response again. But this is actually pretty nice for Reynor because he's going to have a very fast hive. And he also has the option to go into Lurkers. Both very good answers to the Colossus.
True. We were saying that Storm would have been ideal last game for Zoun, but because he's going Colossus, there should be access to Vipers. Exactly.
And maybe target the timing. We actually do see the Templar Archives and Charge coming in as well, so he's already deviating a little bit.
Yeah, this is going to be the first time we see the Robo Bay versus the Lurker build. Got to cancel that hatchery. Okay, just does so in time. Links forward on.
Kasu, clutch transfuse.
Transfuse on that one. We'll be able to save it. Got to go that Stasis Ward. You want to set it off on all the links. Oh, nice split by Reynor, but still a ton of Zerg gets caught there. Yeah. And the recall goes down, and some Zerg, some Stalkers are left over and get picked up.
Yeah, chaotic there for Zoun.
Game number 7.
Yeah, very messy. Nerves are on, and you have to really be on top to not mess up this fight, right? One bad fight and you're out of the series. You lose the series. So both players really feeling the pressure a little bit. But we have seen a big differences. Zoun actually scouted the fast hive here from Reynor, and now he's going into the Templar Archives as a response, which I think is a good call. So if you try to commit into double Colossus versus a Zerg on a fast hive, there's just going to be Vipers out by the time you hit. And if the Zerg has a big army and Vipers, it's really hard to get any big value out of a big Colossus army unless you have High Templars with it as well.
Yeah, I like going into High Templars as well. The new Storm, while it has less DPS, it does more damage overall. So if you can, oh, never mind that. These Stalkers actually get caught out here. The Zergling's going to wrap around.
Yeah, Zoun out of position.
Some of them get away to the high ground, but it feels like Reynor's picking off a lot of the Zoun's units here.
Yeah, really good pick off. Obviously, recall being on cooldown from earlier, not able to recall out of that, and you have to be very careful when you're out on the map where it's like that, where there's a lot of Zerglings out. If you overstep just a little bit and you can't really blink away anymore, those Stalkers die very, very quickly.
Yeah, one key thing to point out with the Colossus here is that one game where Reynor was abducting them, Zoun would blink forward with the Stalkers to protect them. That's a much scarier option against Lurkers. If you blink into a bunch of Lurkers, you can just lose everything. Yeah. So Reynor looking a little bit more prepared here, but Zoun is going to try to pull the trigger.
Ooh, oh my god,
that Stasis will get so many Zerglings there.
Yeah, I think Zoun is just mostly looking to posture a little bit here, as he is getting Storm and +2 behind us and the fleet pick, and he's probably not looking to commit super hard to a fight, but also doesn't want to let Reynor just...
Crazy blink.
Scary blink forward there.
Yeah, we talked about blinking into Lurkers, and there we see exactly that. They go, uh-oh, I got to get out of there. They will leave. This hatchery will be defended by these Zergers, or will it go down actually? The Hydra's coming over to add some DPS. He's just able to save that. This bunch of Lynx sees the Protoss army return. Reynor keeping good tabs on his opponent here.
Yeah, it is important for the Protoss players to be out on the map at this stage of the game when you're playing versus Lurkers, because the Lurkers would love to just run up to a base and burrow and you'll start sieging down that base, right? But if there's a Protoss army in between those two locations, you gotta respect the army and take it slow.
Yeah, you can kind of think of as siege tanks.
Viper's striking around, nice stasis,
The
Jesus.
stasis wards have been amazing by Zoun this game.
Nice
Every
feedback.
time.
Yeah, always catching so many Zerglings with them. Reynor's looking for these abducts.
Nidus into the main.
But I don't think he's going to be able to get them. We go a Nidus in the main.
Zoun supply blocked. He cannot warp in.
Yeah, looks like Zoun has spotted the Nidus. I'm not sure if he actually has anything to deal with it, because he's supply blocked right now. So
Yeah,
he can't even
big
warp
supply
in.
block.
If there's something in this Nidus, this could be very problematic for Zoun.
Ah.
Yeah, let's see what comes out. It is going to be Lurkers in the main base. You have to get units over here. There's so many Lurkers in the main base. You need units over here. You need detection as well.
Yeah, Zoun completely
has
out of
a real
position.
Problem to deal with, and while he's trying to deal with it, Reynor is active on the map, picking up.
Ooh,
units.
Stargate goes down. Ay, ay, ay.
To reveal these units, but will the main Nexus go down? It's in the red HP. Reynor, you got to target it. He gets the Nexus. Huge pickoff for Reynor.
Yeah, at the same time, pulling him completely out of position. Main is in position here at the third Nexus as well. Lurkers
Massive
are
storms.
great storms
Jesus.
coming out of Zoun.
Oh god, keep playing it. Oh my god, the storms.
But that's so many storms going down
Yeah.
on all the Zerg units. But again,
The main
this
is
is
still
the
alive.
issue here for Zoun. The Zerg unit's just killing all his production in the main right now.
Yeah, in the meantime, Reynor is just remaxing on more Hydra Ling. He's gonna
doesn't get the fleet
more
beacon.
Lurkers and just try to keep this
Yeah, he
momentum
doesn't kill the
going,
fleet
right?
beacon,
Tries
doesn't
to
kill the
target
Stargate.
production disabled right now for Zoun. There's no gateway swipe online. There's no Stargates producing. We definitely have a full up timing here now as well as Reynor.
And all this production is depowered as the pylons go down.
Reynor, can he kill Zoun before he can
Zoun
rebuild?
practically making
Zoun has a
four
bank,
in
he
the
can't
main
spend his
to try
money.
and Get his production online again. He's making another Stargate, going into these Tempests. Reynor, though, spilling blood in the water, is going for a huge run by. There is nothing in the natural. Warps in that Zealot just in time. These Lings will have to get out of here, but that distracts Zoun while he makes the Nidus and attacks at the front.
Yeah, all this multi-prong allows the Lurkers to come in position here. There is a lot of storms, but Reynor is very well spread out. There's also a blinding cloud. Oh, nice feedback here from Zoun to prevent that.
There are fires all over the map here for Zoun to put out.
Yeah, and again, and Zoun, he had the economy, he had the production to do this, but he was supply blocked, he was supply blocked, and he cannot spend his money.
Giving up the third base, but that's also
Otherwise, Zoun should be able to defend against this.
Because now the economy is very, very poor here for Zoun. He does have a big bank still, but once he spends his money, he's going to be very, very poor.
Zoun's effectively on two bases. He lost the main, he lost the fourth. He's remaking it, but it's not up yet. Another Nidus going in the main. What am I looking at right now? There are Zerg units everywhere here. The Tempest falls, and with it, Zoun's chances at making a comeback in this game. Reynor is running away with it. All these units running to the Lurkers, and GG. Reynor takes third place here at the offline finals of the RSL.
Amazing play there from Reynor, really turning up the tempo in the end of that game. Just realizing that this is my timing and I'm going to be all over the place. Eventually you will be out of position, and then the Lurkers just get in there, and it's so hard to break once they're in there.
Yeah, GG, well played. Impressive comeback there from Reynor. Really rough tail end of the series there, but he does bring it back. Again, Zoun not looking too happy there towards the end. If you remember, Zoun, he had the army, he had the economy, but Zoun was out of position, and more importantly, he was supply blocked. That Nidus won the game, but what really won the game there for Reynor was Zoun supply block. He was stuck at 180 supply, so he couldn't reactively warp in. He couldn't warp in defensively back at home because of the supply block. He tried to turn his army back around, but he was late to, I mean, his army's quite slow. He was late to respond, didn't take it seriously enough, and the Nidus did end the game there. He created an opening, and with that opening, we saw that Reynor was able to pull Zoun apart. GG. GG, well played. Whew, congratulations here to Reynor, and with that, Reynor will take third place. He'll take third place here in the tournament, and we have one series left. It's going to be a best of 7 between Hero and Classic. Let's go. I believe this is going to be a winner's interview, though. Winner's interview. Let's go.
His winner's interview after taking third place here. I'm very excited to hear what he has to say about this series. Yeah, I think we're going to be jumping over to the couch to hear from the man himself.
All right, thank you very much, guys. We're here with Reynor, who gets third place in the RSL. Congratulations. Before Tesa says anything, I wanted to jump in and ask an actual game question here, and that would be, we were sitting out back with Hero, and he was assuring us that Colossus are trash in the match, but it seems like all of Zoun's success came on the back of Colossus timings. So what would you have to say about that?
Well, Colossus are really good, specifically against Hydra Bane, and I wasn't really scouting his main base much. I was trying to go off info at the front, and I got pretty unlucky with my build order choices. Like one time I went Lurkers, he went Fast Tempest, and one time I went Hydra Bane, he went Fast Colossus. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna start scouting. And yeah, Colossus are pretty bad if you scout them, but if you don't, they can hit hard.
Reynor, congrats on getting third place. Thank you so much for participating in this tournament. Before we close it out, this segment, is there anything you want to say to your fans, and what's next for you?
Yeah, thank you guys, all of you for coming. Thank you for watching at home. Thank you so much for supporting me and the tournament. And hopefully it's uphill from here. Just want to add that I don't want to see a Protoss player at least for 10 days. And yeah, other than that, I'm pretty happy regardless.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for participating. We got a quick plug here, guys. We want to say thank you to Pulsar. They make amazing stuff, and they've been supporting our event. And also thank you to Archon Studio. They are making the StarCraft tabletop miniatures game, and we were lucky enough to have them sponsor us for the entire year. We got the first piece of Zeratul set. There's a lot more to come, and we're going to be going to the finals next year, so stay tuned. We will be right back.
You heard him. 10 days, no Protoss. Much love to Reynor. Much love. GG, well played. If you want some more Reynor action, we don't have confirmation yet if he's going to be there. But coming into January, what do we have? Home Story Cup. Home Story Cup is right around the corner. That's already been confirmed. We already have dates. We don't have confirmed players yet. The big question is, we don't know when Reynor's returning back to Europe. Remember, Reynor, he's been in Korea for like 2 months. He's been in Korea for quite some time. So we don't know when he's coming back to Europe. I would imagine he would line it up, though, to be able to come back home and come back to Europe in time for Home Story Cup. So that should be the next big event for Reynor. That's the next big event in StarCraft, at least, is Home Story Cup. That's right around the corner. Bearing in mind, we have Star Zagora in May. So we have Star Zagora in May, and of course, Home Story Cup is going to be in January. Otherwise, we're going to be cutting to a break. Cutting to a break here. Up next is going to be Hero versus Classic. Also, I love that I love that Reynor was like, you know what, the builds weren't going my way. Things were going poorly. And after a certain point, he's like, you know what, I'm going to start scouting. God damn it, Reynor. He's I mean, that's Reynor in a nutshell. Shaking my head. But yes, we're gonna be cutting to a break, and when we come back, we'll have the grand finals, best of 7 PvP between Hero and Classic. See you soon. See you soon. In chat. Thanks so much for your input for these matches. Really explain it to us newbies and give us a little backstory. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoy it. I will say that I had a little bit less to say and less to add to this series specifically. I say this all the time, but there are certain cases whenever we're co-streaming, like when Pig is casting, for example, or when Sort of is casting, where we have very little to add just because they usually cover their bases. And if we ever have something to bring up, they usually bring it up themselves. So we had a little bit less to add, a little bit less to say when it came to Reynor versus Zoun. But regardless, shout out to Sort of. I think it's really good that they have them there as the Zerg analyst. And also, we'll see who's going to be the casting duo for the finals. It should be Artosis and Tasteless, should be Tastosis, but we'll see. We'll see. Personally, I do think there's a lot of value in having Gemini there, just because it's a PvP. So it makes sense to have Gemini as a part of that. I do think that Gemini, he's like the equivalent to Sort of for them, for Protoss, where he gets really excited and really intense, and he's very well versed when it comes to the Protoss side of things. So we'll see if they utilize him, but because it's the finals, it probably is going to be Tasis and Artosis. Most likely. Regardless, going to be cutting to a break, and we'll be back soon in 10 or so minutes with the grand finals. See you soon, Pappy. See you soon.